Today I am bringing you my best summer decor ideas. These are my favorites for 2023. I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome. Be sure that you read this information so you understand why you're watching some of the same content that you have already seen. Thanks! Okay, so a handkerchief from Dollar Tree. We're going to use this sign from Dollar Tree. I'm going to grab my painter's tape from Dollar Tree. Decide where I want to put it. I know I want a smaller portion to be white because that's where the handkerchief's going to go, and then a larger section to be a different color. So I'm just going to tape it off this way, but you can use as much space as you want to on yours. Now once I have that pressed into place, I'm going to put my wicker white up here on the top. Any white would work though. I just like white underneath, I just do. Now to go over my edges, rather than using Mod Podge this time, I saw my friends Trish and Kay do this on a wood round that they did. So I wanted to try it. And y'all, the edge is so pretty and clean. Look at that. Not one skip or break. Oh, thank you ladies. I know y'all watch my videos, so thank you very much for that. Now, once it is completely dry, I'm going to grab my tape, put it over, leave a tiny, tiny bit of that white that also came from them, and then I'm going to go over the top with this beautiful blue. This is chalk paint, but you can definitely use acrylic. The good thing about the chalk paint is it takes one coat. Once that's on there, it's still wet. I am going to carefully peel off the tape. I know some people wait until it's completely dry, and that's totally up to you. Pull it off when it's wet, and then dry it really well. So now when we put this on, all the white in the print is going to show up beautifully. It's going to be very crisp. I'll grab that Mod Podge. We're using fabric, so again, you can go a little more heavy-handed than we did on the paper. And put this, I'm going to line it up with that line, and put this beautiful piece down. If you can't find this at your Dollar Tree with the popsicle print, they do also have it in a scarf. So you could definitely use the scarf. It's thinner, but you can work with it. Now I'm going to cut the bulk of it off just so it's a little bit easier to work with. We'll save that because you can use it for something else. Get my Mod Podge all the way to the edges, y'all, all the way past the edge so that it is sealed on your edges. Then I'm going to make sure I go over my seam, and then I'll paint the entire bottom that's blue in the same matte Mod Podge so that the finish is continuous through the whole sign. Once it's dry, go ahead and trim off your extra. You could also use a sander for that. And we're going to grab some beautiful Patriotic ribbon from Dollar Tree. These are not wired, no worries. I'm going to start off with the little star pattern because I think it looks good. I'm going to fray it a bit, and then we're going to wrap it right around. It's going to slightly overlap the printed section, but be more onto the blue section, if that makes sense to you. Put some hot glue on there, lock it into place, and then this is how it will look like that. I know that I want to add a bow on this one, so I'm going to cut this down where I have three, they almost look like wreaths or circles, 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Do the same thing here, the same length. I'm going to come in here with these stripes, and we're going to do those a little bit shorter. We'll use 2 of those. Then I'm going to add some blue and white polka dot ribbon that also came from Dollar Tree. And then I'll add some pieces of the ribbon that I cut in half. That piece right there, we're going to use pieces of that. Dovetail your ends. On the thinner pieces, you don't necessarily have to dovetail your ends. You could cut those at a slant if you wanted to, but I managed, and I think it looks good. So we're just going to layer these up, crisscross, crisscross. I'm just using the same patterns here. to make my crisscross. I'm going to grab that stack, flip it over on top of a piece of jute, and just like I did before, you're going to start your tie, and then you're going to hold on to your ribbon and make sure you've got nice even little sections that are bunched up and that it is not completely flipped over. You want them to kind of pleat together. You want to definitely put a couple of knots in this to hold it all in place, and then you can pull your little tail pieces out so that they are nice and crispy and pretty. Cut your excess off because we'll be gluing this down instead. Decide the best place for you to put your little bow. Look at all these options. I'm going to put mine off to the side here, hold it in place, and then I'm just going to go ahead while my hands are already there holding it in place and fluff out all those beautiful little dovetailed ends. I'm going to pull them up. It's a thick ribbon, so I'll pull them up and kind of play with them and flex them out so that they will stay in place. Now I'm going to make a hanger with the polka dots, just so we have a little more of that in there. This is just a little silk-like ribbon. I'm just going to double it onto itself as long as you want your hanger to be. Then once I know where I want it, I'm going to hold my hand into place, put down some hot glue, and then press it in place. You want to be sure you let your hangers cool before you hang anything on them because they will pull loose. Now, the cherry on the top for this one, because there's a cherry on that ice cream, is just a little random bead that I saved. And I think that did the trick. Here is the Patriotic sign. And by all means, if y'all can find the wood rounds, grab those instead. You know, we at my house, we just make it work. We make it work. The first project is a sunflower treasure box. I got this box while I was out thrifting, but you can get these from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or maybe even Joann's. Maybe even in a garage sale. Perhaps you have something like this already at home. We're going to need a little cup, a screwdriver for our hardware, chippy brush, some chalk paint, and I'm going to use these beautiful sunflower transfers from Essential Stencil. I could not wait to get my hands on these and to make some projects, so I hope you enjoy what you're going to see here today. I am going to start off by removing the hardware on the front. So this little box has two little sides that kind of latch it together so it doesn't come open. I'm going to take those off, and I'm also going to remove the handle. Be sure you keep your screws with your pieces. But these little sections here are decorative and they are in there with nails, so we're going to leave those as is and distress them a bit. I'm going to flip this box over and take the tag off. You can use whatever technique you normally use to get it off. Then I like to use a little sanding behind that to just get any residue off, and then continue all over the box so that it has the same texture or the same feel all over the box. You can see that when they put the screws in for the hardware, it kind of leaves a little puckered or raised area. I want to be sure that I get all of that off. Now it's important that you take a dry cloth and wipe your item down after you've sanded it, because it does have a lot of dust and you don't want that muddying up your paint. I'm going to start with my green here. This is actually like an oatmeal, I believe is what the color is on the bottle. It's like a very light mossy green color. Really pretty color, and I've used it in a couple of projects and I really like it. I am using dry brushing here to go all over this, and I like to build up from light to heavier till I get it the way I like it. While it's still kind of damp, once I've gotten all the sides done, I'm just going to wipe a little bit at the decorative corners. And if you have something like this on your box, you can, wipe it completely clean if you don't want it to look distressed. But I like the look of it possibly have been painted years ago and it's chipping away and, kind of tarnishing. I like the look. So once that is dry, I'm going to take my plaster chalk paint, and you can use acrylics for this if you want. It won't have the exact same effect, but if you don't have chalk paint, just use what you have here. So I am getting some paint on it and then offloading it onto the crafting paper that I have underneath my project, and I'm going to put that right over the top. The idea of having different colored paints here is just to kind of make it look like it's been around a long time. Maybe it's had some paint that has been scratched off of it, you know. Just going to give it that look like it's been around a while. I'm going to go back with a damp cloth, or I'm using a baby wipe here, and just kind of taking some of it off, maybe where it would naturally rub off, and leave the rest of the paint on there. I'll do that all over the back, all over the top and the sides. Now I'm going to work on my hardware. I started off by doing it very, very, very lightly, and it just didn't match the same look as the little decorative pieces in the corners. So I do add a little bit more, and I'll show you that I do that. But it's always easier for me to start very light and just kind of build it up. So that's what I decided to do on these. I do have all my little screws in a separate cup so that nothing's on the floor, because these screws are itty bitty. So I decided to make it a little heavier, and it actually turned out a whole lot better. Now you may be wondering, why did you even take those off if you were just going to paint them? Well, we're going to be adding some rub-on transfers, and I want those to be underneath all of the hardware. So we have to do it this way to accomplish that look. After I have these done, I'm going to add a little paint in the little cup, a little paint on the brush, and work on all those little screws that are down in there. Sometimes they'll get stuck in the brush, but you can knock them against the side and they will come loose, and then you can empty them out on your paper so they will dry individually. If you want to sand over the top of this to give it a little more of a muted look and kind of blend things a little further together, you can use an emery board, a piece of sandpaper, or you can use one of those little foam hand sander things. I wouldn't use anything like a electric sander because we don't want to take that much off. If you get a little heavy-handed, you can go back over it and finish it with your paint, or you can just sand it down and that'll kind of mute it out a little bit. So here's one of the pages of those rub-on transfers, and I'm trying to get the fit to make sure that it will go on the top, and I love that this piece will fit perfectly on the top of the box. I'm going to leave this all together with the backing still on it and cut this out. Personally, if I cut the pieces out, it just makes it go a little bit faster. Just go ahead and cut them out, take off all the negative space that you can, you know, so you don't have a bunch of extra around, and go ahead and place it down. I do take my time here and make sure that I have it positioned exactly where I want it. It's not laying on the box yet. I don't drag it around by laying it down. But once I get it where I want it, I'm going to press it into place. There's a little bit of stickiness that will help it, but it's always important and good practice, I think, to keep one hand at all times on the upper part, so the outside of it. Now I'm using a wooden tool here. This came with a basket making kit that a friend of mine at the thrift store picked up, and it is perfect for this for me. I love using wood on wood when I am doing rub-on transfers like this. For some reason, it just really gives me a better finish, and it really seals that image down onto the wood. So I like to use it. Plus I have small hands and it's not awkward, and I'm not dropping it constantly. I can just hold my finger on it, hold the rest in my palm near my wrist, and it fits in there. It just feels right when I'm doing it, so I'll continue to use this. When you order from Essential Stencil, you will get something that you can use to work with your projects. It's plastic, which works fine on glass and plastic, but I just like, this is just my preference. This video today is not sponsored, but I have worked with them before and I absolutely love their stencils. I'm going to add some links. If I don't put a card in the corner up here, then I will have some links in the description box of the videos that I did previously. So you can check those out and see if this might be something that you want to add to your crafting kit. Now I'm just going to put that little plastic piece that was on top, I'll put that back down and just rub that down really well so every piece of that is sticking to the box, just to be on the safe side. This is just the most stunning, beautiful artwork. These flowers are beautiful. But you know, they have lots of other things too. If flowers aren't your thing, then you know, you can do birds. You can use any type of seasonal or holiday pieces that you want to use, but sunflowers just do it for me. I love sunflowers in summertime and in fall, so you will see more crafts with sunflowers and such. And I'll probably link for you a video of other sunflower crafts just in case you want to see that. So I'm going to go along, and I'm not too concerned. Some of these are going to be a little bit big for the space that I put them, but you can fold these over the edges and burnish them down, and it looks like they're just wrapped around. So I like the idea of that. I like the look of it. It's kind of unexpected, I think. Makes it nice, makes it different, makes it your own. That's what we do here on this channel, right? I hope that you feel encouraged when you watch my videos. I know I'm leaving all this in, and you can clearly see how you're supposed to do this, but you know, why not have a little chat while we're doing that? I love to bring you ideas that you like, that inspire you, and I want to do that as cheaply or as inexpensively as I can, but still giving you that look that you paid a lot of money for it. You know, we like that. We like the idea of having our house looking special and it bringing us joy when we look around and think, you know what, I made that. I made that, and it brings me a lot of joy. So you want to continue along here, and now I'm just taking my little tool, and I'm just going to go right down in the crack where the box is together. So where my stencil goes over the opening in the box, I'm just going to go right over that line so that this can still open up and still have a really nice finish. Y'all know I love a print that looks like it was painted on, and I feel like that's what it looks like with this project. I feel like that's how it looks. And you know, if you can't paint, a rub-on transfer is a very good option for you. I cannot do, you know, I can do crafts, but I'm not the kind of person who can just paint. I can't do that. Not this type of a detail. It's beautiful, and I admire so much the people who have that gift, but that's just not my particular gift. So I like to use something that gives it that look, though. And I think you can do it with a stencil. And you can take a project that looks, I mean, we had just a little box here that just looked like really nothing fancy at all, and make it into something that's personalized. You know, you could use this as a jewelry box. You could use this to put receipts in. You could use this, maybe give it as a gift to somebody. You could fill it up with some candy and make it a get well gift. You know, just wrap a pretty ribbon around it. You could do any of that with it. So the painter's tape here was really just used to help hold the box together nice and tightly until I could get my stencils, or my transfers on rather. And then what you see me doing now is just making sure that those are rolled under so that it doesn't peel away. I've never had one of these transfers to peel away, but I always like to do things, you know, maybe do a little bit extra than trying to have to fix it after you mess it up. Okay, so that's what you see me doing here. Now I've moved the tape to the sides because we're going to be working on the front. Now you can see the screw holes and everything here, and that's why we removed the screws. And we sanded it so that when you put your transfer on there, it won't make a hole in it or make it look kind of cheap or raggedy. Want this to look like one piece with the box. So I'm just going to put these transfers down, and you can put them right over the top of the holes if you can recall where the holes were. Sometimes on the inside of the boxes you can see where the back of the screw would go. On this particular one you could not see it, but I could pretty much gauge where the hole would be. So I'm going to do the same thing as we did before. And if you hold it on one side, so say you're right-handed like me, you can hold it with your left hand and then work from the right to the left while still holding it in place. I've never had one to slip on me doing it that way. If that helps you. You definitely don't want it to move because it could make a skip in your print, or it could just really mess you up. Also, be sure when you're taking them off of the backing that you don't put your fingers on the actual picture itself. Keep it on the clear part because it will transfer to your finger. And you'll probably see a little bit on my finger after a while when I start working with the Dollar Tree transfers on another project. So I always want to make sure that I don't make any mistakes here. Sometimes you can see that the picture looks lighter when it is stuck down. So you can see through it that it's actually separated from that plastic part on the top. Look how beautiful. I love the look of this. You know, something like this, if you used, maybe if a bride was, you were given a gift to a bride, you could do it in the colors of her wedding, and then you could do something old, new, borrowed, and blue in this box. How cool would that be? Then she could keep it, you know, it would be a keepsake. That would be nice. You could use something like this with maybe little animal prints. You could use something like this for a baby shower. You know, maybe mom could put birth certificate, a little clipping of the hair, the first tooth, you know, all those sentimental things moms like to keep. It would be good for something like that too, I think. You put love notes in here. Oh, my mind just goes everywhere with it. Not really sure what I'm going to use mine for yet, but this is definitely a keeper. So if you pull it up slowly like that, if a little bit's lifting up, you can just lay it down and it will go right back into the same place. So again, I'm just going over the cracks there to make sure when I open it, I don't peel anything or have any weird seam on it. Then you can take your tape off if you would like and put the hardware back on. Of course, if it's easier, you can just leave it on there. You can keep adding. You could mix your transfers up and use something with some wording on it. You could use some stencils with this too and add some wording if you would like. I just don't feel the need to put a word on everything anymore. Now, I used to because I really loved farmhouse, and I still have a special place for farmhouse, but rustic has always been my thing. So rustic and cottagey and just woodsy. You know, your tastes kind of change over the years, I think. Maybe not for everyone, but for a lot of people. Your tastes change and your personality changes and things change in life, you know. Different things begin to bring us joy and some things aren't as important as they used to be. So see, you just fold it over just like I did there, and then you can burnish it down. And you'll see that lift up on its own. And then you can just remove that. So if you don't have a box like this, what could you use? What do you think you could use this on? Could you do it on maybe a raw wood picture frame? That would be really pretty. Could you do it maybe on, maybe you could make a sign with it, a sunflower sign. That would be good. If you would like to see how to make that, be sure that you stay tuned in this video because I am going to be making a sunflower sign in this video. So that might be something that you would like to do. And I did it using just some thrifted things that possibly you may already have around your house as well. Y'all, I went and got some new pictures taken and they are so nice. I really, really love the lady who did my pictures. She did such a good job. If you've never had professional pictures taken, I'm telling you, I don't know. I looked at myself and think, how much airbrushing did this lady have to do on this picture? You know, how much? But regardless, I feel beautiful in the pictures, and it has been a very long time since I have felt pretty. So I don't know, just an idea. If you're kind of down in the dumps, maybe get some pictures made. You know, pretty yourself up. And have some pictures made. It really boosted my self-esteem, and y'all be seeing those new pictures. I'm going to be changing some things out on my channel, possibly changing our time frames from 5 o'clock to 6 because it looks like a lot of people are watching more at 6 o'clock. So we'll see. I'll let you know though in the community tab. Y'all always know that I do things that I share with you, I talk to you. I love that you're here with me, and I just feel like y'all are family. I feel a closeness. I know that you can do everything that I show you how to do on this channel too. You can absolutely do these things. The important thing is don't try to measure your projects by somebody else's. You make it your own. It's not going to be wrong. Just make it your own. If you love it, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right, so now is the part where we're going to put the hardware back on. When I put it back on, I wanted to rough it up a little bit to kind of have it matching what we have going on in the corners, those other metal pieces. So that's what I'm doing, roughing it up a bit so it looks old and kind of worn. It's definitely not something you have to do. If you want to leave yours the same way that they came, you can definitely do that. I just like to do all the other little extra things. It's kind of a surprise. You could also do something on the inside if you wanted to paint the inside, or maybe stencil a special message on the inside. You could do that too. Maybe line it with some fabric or paper. It's really up to you. There's so many options with a project like this. I just again encourage you to make it your own and save money where you can. Prices of everything seems to be going up, so save money where you can, but still have those things that bring you some joy. You see how nice this looks? And it looks like it was painted on. Look at that. You open it, it's seamless when it goes back together. Love it. I hope you like this one too. The next fairy is our log fairy. Okay, so here's the second one. She is spray painted nice and white. I'm going to use some of this brown moss from the Dollar Tree. It's floral moss. Going to use some dark espresso, buff, silver of your choice, some glitter with some black in it, really fine glitter. I'm going to get into my stash of goodies from my yard that's been dried, and this beautiful piece of wood that my husband and kids found in the creek at our farm in Mississippi. This is only part of it. It is so heavy. Okay, beautiful piece though. I love the rich darkness and all the cracks in it. It's just gorgeous. Very inspiring. Okay, so look at this girl once she is put together. Now you can leave her wings like this if you wanted to, but I gotta put the magic in them wings. We finna do some glitter. If at any time in my life, got to have that glitter in those fairy wings, right? Not a big fan of glitter, but I am when we're looking at our mystical woodland creatures. Okay, so these are butterfly cutouts, and I got one of my picks, my flower picks, and just cut these pieces off. I cut them off because we need these for these flowers. Now, you watch what I'm doing while I tell you a little something. If you are still here at this point, I am doing a secret giveaway. I am going to be giving away some of the burlap that has been difficult for folks to find. I have the bees and all that good stuff. I also have some fabric, but I have about a $10 bag of goodies from Dollar Tree that I want to send to one lucky person. So what do you have to do? You have to go into the comment section, name one of those fairies, tell me which one is your favorite one. And that's it. That's all you have to do. We're going to give it about a week, and then I will let you know in your original comment. So be sure you have your notifications on. I'm going to let you know in your original comment, and I'm also going to let you know on the community page. It's very important that you get back with me within about 48 hours, okay? That's what you need to do, and you'll be qualified for a chance to win those goodies. Be sure you look down in the description box for all the details. Okay, so my son is helping me here. This is a finger dauber. I learned about these through Trish and Kay from Crafting Cousins, and they really make a difference. I also wanted to show you this cup that my son bought for me with his own money. So thank you very much for helping. So here is a dried shelf mushroom from my stash. I'm going to just trim it down a little bit because there are dips and raised areas in here, and I want it to sit as flush as possible. I'm going to use some wood glue on here, and I'm also going to use hot glue. Plus we're going to use one more thing in a moment. So I'm going to get that where I like it, press it into place, give it just a chance for the hot glue to set up. Then I'm going to grab some of that nano tape, or whatever it's called. I'm going to fold it over on itself. I think it's called wall mounting tape at Dollar Tree. So you can get it at Dollar Tree. I'm going to roll it, and then I'm going to press it up in the little gap that I still had in between here on that mushroom. I don't want anything to fall. So we're going to see how strong this tape is. Look, the hot glue and the tape together and I could pick that up. That's pretty amazing. I think that's going to stay. We're not putting anything heavy on the top, little one, so we're just going to leave it. Put it up there and just leave it with that. Look how beautiful her wings look with that Recollection black glitter. Ugh, so pretty. So we're going to seal her as well. We don't want anything coming off her wings. One good coat and let her dry out. I'm going to take that moss and go in all these little indentations. Well, not all of them, but you know, pretty good bit of them, to look like there is some life that is growing in it, even though my husband dug this out of the bottom of our creek. I'm going to take just, you know, a little stick or something and kind of poke that down in there so it looks kind of nested into that. I'm going to go down here on this bottom one too. I'm going to go right over where the crack is on the top of this one, and I'm going to make a little backing of moss here. You can use green moss if you want, but since I did so much green on the other one, I wanted this one to be a little more maybe end of summer, kind of transitioning into fall, and I think I achieved that, so I'm happy about that. You'll see in the end, right? You always let me know what you think in the end. So I'm just going to put these along here. These two branches that I got, I thrifted from the Goodwill bins. I thrifted them and I've had them for a few years, y'all. But they are beautiful. They have sort of maybe a young tree vibe, a vine vibe, but they're really pretty. What you don't necessarily see in here, I don't think, no, I know that I did not put myself using the staple gun here. I used some shallow staples on the underside where you couldn't see it on a few pieces. I think I have 3 little sections, so I glued it and did a little stapling. Be sure you disguise that, you know, put a little paint over it so nobody sees that in there. I'm going to take another pick, I'm going to cut it in half, have it looking like 2 picks once you fluff it out, and twist up your little vines. And I think a good place here would be right in this big crack in the side, so I'm just going to add some glue and then some more moss. It's going to help hold it in. With these I didn't have to staple. Alright, and the little crack in the bottom, we're going to add one right here. So you see at the top we got high and then medium and then low. So we have a variety of heights in there, which makes it interesting to the eye. It gives you a lot to look at, as well as the depth and dimension that we always look for on our projects. So again, if you're looking for any particular color or anything of the paints that I use, just let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to put that down there for you. Then here are the butterfly sticks that we made. 2 of these I'm going to cut the sticks off of because I decided to put those directly down onto the vines. I think they're strong enough to hold them, and they are. And I put those back to back like that so that, you know, if you see them from the other angle, you still get a pretty color and not a white backing. We'll leave some of these on the picks so that they look as though they're flying. And look, we're going to put one right on her ankle as if she is looking at the little butterfly and it's resting on her ankle. I'm just bending it a little bit so that the wings look like they were, you know, like a butterfly. And then this tall one I'll put right in the top. Gonna add a little glue to hold that one in place. And y'all look at it. Is this not cute? I don't know. I don't guess you could say cute, but I think it's whimsical, and I think that it is just so gorgeous and woody and cottagey, and it's just beautiful. I really do think so. And I think the color of the butterflies gives it a lot of charm. That orange and gold is just really pretty. Now you can use little mushrooms to go on your areas here, you know, in any little spaces that you have, but I decided that I wanted to still just continue along with those neutral browns and greens. I took a tiny miniature wreath and just put it on that top step. You know, maybe she's a crafter too, right? We don't know. Maybe she made her own little wreath. Then I'm going to take a gumball from the yard out of our tree, and I am going to flatten it on one side, add some glue, and put it beside her. So she has a little orb beside her, just a little something interesting and pretty. And this is how it's going to look. And it will stand on its own perfectly. Look at that. And then I'm just going to get rid of all of those extra little threads of glue that I have all over the place just to clean it up. The next project is a citrus shelf sign. We're going to use some white chalk paint, a paintbrush, grab that pretty ribbon again. We're getting our use out of the bag and that ribbon. A little scrap of cardstock, some beautiful yellow burlap, and this little sign piece. I've used it already and we're going to use it again. We're going to stretch that dollar, y'all. So I could have used a bigger brush. Initially, I thought I was only going to paint the inside and not the frame, but then I decided, you know what? We're going to just do the entire thing white. We're going to make all of this look crisp and pop, and it's all going to be white. I went over this and let it dry. Then I added another coat so that it had a nice, rich coat of white. I'm going to roughly cut out the pieces of fruit that I want to use. We're going to go with the orange, the lemon, maybe one of those is a grapefruit. I don't know. I almost want to say that the other round orange piece is like maybe a peach, but that's not citrus. So we're going to call that a grapefruit or tangerine. There you go. All right, so I'm going to use my glue stick. I'm going to go all over the cardstock. We're going to make these a little bit thicker, make them a little more substantial. So I'm just going to place these down in that school glue. Don't forget, go through those book bags when the kids get out of school. Get that extra stuff that the teachers send back home. Don't let that go in the trash. You can use that. All right, now I'm going to gently press these down. If you're too rough with them, they'll all come sliding off there. So we're just going to kind of hold things in place and gently press them down. Then you can do some more cutting. I'm telling you, you might not want to do all the cutting because it may be to you annoying or busy work, but it's worth it. Look at these. Look how pretty these are. All right, so we're going to grab that piece of burlap and we're going to set it down in the frame to see how much we need. And we're going to do just a little bit more than what will fit in there so that we can hem up that little edge, our little raw edge. I'm just sort of flipping it to crease it. Then I'm going to add some hot glue in there, or some cool temp hot glue, and go all the way across that edge. Now you got to work kind of quickly here because you know it'll dry fast, and just flip it over on itself. And this is going to make that nice little hem. I'll be adding hot glue on both of the shorter sides, and that's where we'll be placing down the burlap. So if you press that down in there, protect your fingers if you're using the hot glue, and just press that in. Now in some spaces, you know, it's Dollar Tree, so the frames they're not always exact, they're not always flush or glued proportionately throughout. So sometimes there'll be a little gap, and you can take like some type of a flat, maybe like a little flat screwdriver or your credit card or your brayer, and press that down underneath the frame's edge to give it a little bit of a neater look. I want to use this for the top, some more of this beautiful ribbon. So I'm just going to trim it the way it needs to be trimmed to fit in there. See, it tucked underneath just a little bit. I'm going to add a little more glue to connect it down to the burlap. And then pick your positions for your fruit. I'll take these little poppets. You can find something similar at the Dollar Tree. They're just little foam adhesive, like a riser. It'll give it some dimension instead of laying it flat down on the sign. And rather than offsetting it, you can see like a little shadow around your items so that it gives it a little more dimension, and I love that. Love it. I don't have to fake the dimension when I use these. Be sure you get under the leaves too so that they will stand up as well. Once you get them where you like them, then one by one you can pick these up, add a little bit of hot glue because we want these to be permanent, and press it down. I don't want anything falling apart in my house. Our house is off the ground. I suppose that it could shake, although it hasn't because it is a hurricane-proof house. But yeah, I don't want anything falling and breaking apart, and no, we don't want that. So I am going to take some letters. You can get some at Dollar Tree if you would like. I got these, I believe, while thrifting. And I'm going to paint them white, and I'm going to spell the word fresh, because to me, citrus fruits just scream fresh and freshness and, oh, summertime and joy, and I just love it. I'm just using a popsicle stick to help me with my placement. You can put your words wherever you want. I like it sitting a little bit closer to the fruit. I think it looks nice in that space. I don't want a bunch of glue strings, so I'm using as little hot glue as possible, just enough to get them secured without making a big mess and without glue squishing out under my letters. I don't want that. That is not going to give you a high-end look. I strive to show you how to make things that are, you know, budget friendly, but they don't look like they're budget friendly necessarily. So for the back of this sign, because this is intended to be, I guess, a sign that hangs maybe, I'm not sure, we're going to give it a little more support. We don't want anything falling over. Like I said, this will help it stand up. And look how cute this is. See how it stands? Now, obviously, if you're giving this as a gift or if you're going to be selling your products, you want to always finish your bags. Finish the backs, make them solid, make sure they're covered. You can either paint them or you can cover them with craft paper. The first project is going to be a beehive door decor. Did I mention these things are coming from the Dollar Tree? That's right. We're going to start off with a little pencil. I've got this beehive frame from the Dollar Tree, some fabric that I thrifted, and a piece of foam board. Mine's a trifold, but I'll cut it down, but you can get yours at Dollar Tree. We're going to take the tags off here, of course. You can see that it's not completely painted. That doesn't bother me, but if you need to, you can go ahead and get some yellow spray paint and fix that up, or maybe even acrylic. To make it a little easier while I trace this so I don't move it around, I'm just going to use a little bit of clear tape and just tape it across each one of those little ribs, and that way there's no tape on the outside that interferes with the shape that I'm tracing. Very easy. Once you get that done, you can just pop it off. I did break one of my rings, so be careful when you do that. And then this is a shape you get. You can use your cutting mat and a X-Acto knife if you want to, or one of those little finger knife thingies. But I went ahead and grabbed up my scissors because I was catching heck with that little knife. And the scissors work, it just takes a little bit longer. And I'm trying to get the big pieces out of the way. You can hack at it and then do a little bit of a nicer cut along the edges. Just kind of remove that bulk. So there's the shape. It is not completely perfect. It's got little jagged cut marks in it. I'm just going to grab my sanding foam block here and just lightly go right over all of these edges. That'll get that extra paper off. The foam that's on the inside will shear off of there as well and just give us a little bit of a smoother surface to work with. You could use an emery board to do this too if you wanted, or even a piece of sanding paper, whatever. So you can see the little pieces that have fallen down on the bottom, and here's our shape, and it fits perfectly. We're going to just set the form aside, the wreath form, and we're going to start working on the paper backing or the foam board backing. We want to make this stiff, so we're going to Mod Podge it down onto the foam board. I'm using quite a bit on a sponge brush so that I get a thick application. When you use fabric, you want to get enough glue so that it kind of saturates through. You wouldn't want to do this if you were using tissue paper or something. You're probably not going to find this fabric at Dollar Tree, as I didn't either, but you can find some that's white with little black bee prints with their farmhouse fabrics. If you can find that, that would be really nice here too. Maybe give you something a little more neutral, but I happen to like that color, that beautiful color in the summer and going into fall. So this is just the way I like it. I'm going to go back over while it's still wet and go over all of the edges, making sure that it's going to dry so it'll be crispy even on the fabric. It'll be able to cut it just like we would cutting paper, ideally. And you can see it kind of gives it a milky looking finish. I'm using matte, but you can use whatever Mod Podge that you like to use on this. I just like the matte finish. While it's still wet, I'm going to trim off the excess to make it a little bit easier for me the next go around. Once it's dry, this is how it's going to look. Nice and crisp again, the colors. And I'm going to go around here and cut these out with my small scissors. Now, I've found that if I just cut toward my centers like this, and then I can kind of then go along the curve without having to worry about not getting good corners. So see, now I can just go over this section, and there's our little bump. And you can do that all the way around if it's easier for you. Once that's done, I'm going to take my E6000, and I do use hot glue too, but you just can't see it here. And these little clamps that came from Dollar Tree to help us hold everything in place. So we're going to take that frame back off of there, and I'm going to go around the edges as close as I can get to the edge with this E6000. I'm just going to make some smears here and there. This comes out like in a little bubble, and the top is clogged up, so I just use a stick and use it this way. And I know you can't see, but I'm going close to the edges because the edges are where the frame is going to touch. Then after I get that done, I'm going to put down the frame back on top of it and hold it in place with the clamps. And you'll see me doing that here. Gonna make sure I got it exactly in the right position. It's shaped a little differently on the top and the bottom, so just making sure that it's right and back in the right spot. These clamps can help hold it in place, and then I'll go around and all the sections where I did not put the E6000, I'm going to go around that with some hot glue. Just on the outside, not on the inside. And that's going to help hold it in place until our E6000 is dry. Once it is all dry, you can see here, it works perfectly. And I did not glue down any of the middle sections because I knew I wanted to add a little something extra. I'm just going in here with my scissors and trimming up a little bit of extra fabric that's, you know, little ragged pieces. Just going to go ahead and trim it up on the front, make it look nice and neat. You can go over that with black or yellow paint if you wanted to. I'm just going to reuse a tie that I got off of something else, and I'm going to put that in the back. You want one that's wide enough that if you put a bow on here, the bow is going to cause the weight to shift to the other side. So if you're going to use a bow, you might want to consider how you put your hanger on the back of this. Might want to make one that goes side to side, in other words. So we'll give that a chance to dry, and while it is, we're going to work on a bow. You don't have to use a bow at all. If you prefer to not use a bow, you certainly don't have to, but I really wanted to in this project. And we'll be using a variety of ribbons. So this one is a thrifted ribbon that I pulled off something else at Goodwill. Sometimes I find fragments, and that's fine with me. I love that color. And then I have some more. The yellow came from the thrift store also, and then the little sunflower came from the fall clearance or sale last year at Hobby Lobby, or last fall season, I'll put it that way. It's so cute. I love it. And getting good deals like that, man, I don't always get those good deals because I don't follow them. I just kind of happen into the store every now and then and can find something I like. So okay, let's get started on this bow. This is going to be a funky bow. 4-inch little loops up here. You're going to fold it in half. You've got it dovetailed on the ends, and you're going to hold it between your thumb and your forefinger. Again, approximately 4 inches. You can measure it against the ribbon you already have, or you can keep your ruler down or your cutting mat so you can get them precise if that's what you want to do. I can usually get them about the same by just kind of fooling with the loops. So I'll put my fingers in here and pull them up, and I can make one longer if I need to. I can pull them down by the tails and make them shorter. We're using 3 different types of ribbon, and we're going to use 2 of each one. The more you use, the bigger your bow is going to be. I don't want this bow to completely overwhelm the small size of this this little door hanger we're making. Or you can put it on your wall or wherever you want to put it. It's just bright and sunshiny and summery, and I just love that. Hope y'all like sunflowers as much as I do, because I will be doing sunflowers in the fall also. I sure will, because I love them so much. They're just very rustic to me. The colors and everything, they're so warm. I just love it. Alright, so I'm going to use a zip tie here, but I'm going to slip a little scrap of a pipe cleaner right down in there. And then I'm going to tighten it all the way down. And then you can just cut the edge off, or the extra off, with your little clippers. Or if you've got some kitchen shears, something that can cut through thick items, then you could use that too. So to fluff out this bow, we're going to make sure, if you're going to fluff it upside down, make all your patterns go toward the table, because when you flip it over, that'll be the right side, correct? Yes. The idea is to kind of divide up your colors and your patterns so that it is mixed up and pretty, and there's a little bit of each little pattern represented in your bow when you look at it. This bow, although we made these pieces about 24 inches, we're going to be trimming up a little bit on this bow, and so these pieces will not be the same length as you see them here. But you can leave yours that way if you would like. So it's kind of easy. It's fluffing out the bow part. It's just, you know, putting your hands in there, and they have wire, except for that little sunflower ribbon. They have wire so they stay up there without too much of a problem. So I'm wrapping it around that, I guess it would be almost the center loop there, or one of the middle loops, and I'm just pulling it to the outside. I want to be able to see the flowers and the bees on the sign. And yeah, some is covered up, but you know, you'll still be able to see that bee toward the top. She's a super cutie. Alright, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just nip a little bit. Make these a little bit shorter in front of the striped ones that are underneath it. Kind of just playing with it here. If you made your loops and your tails about the same size, then you would have a squattier, wider bow. So just keep that in mind if you decide that that's something that you would rather do. I've decided to put a little loop in the middle because it's bothering me that I can still see my little zip tie. So I'm just going to make a little loop and put it in the center. But if you are somebody who knows how to make bows, then you know what to do without running into this issue. I'm not a professional. I like to remind people of that every now and then. I don't know everything, and I don't pretend that I do. You know, I'm self-taught, and I just try to bring you the things that work for me, and then you can do things your own way. That's what we do on this channel. We make it our own. See how that yellow one right there is just a little bit too long? It's trying to be floppy. We're going to cut it a little shorter, and it'll stand out a little bit. I'm just wrapping them between my two fingers and pulling them down, and a good wired ribbon will hold that curve for you. And that's working pretty good. I think it's cute. I don't think that this piece would have been as cute had we not put that pretty bow on there. But maybe it's just because I'm from the South and we love big bows. Who knows? Next project is a mini burlap bag. So I thrifted these, but they came from Michael's, probably cost $1, if that much. I'm going to use something on the inside to keep our Mod Podge from soaking to the back and closing that bag off. So I'm just using a piece of foam board here. And you can wrap yours with some plastic if you're concerned, or a sandwich bag, so that it doesn't stick. And then choose another print that you like. And I love this one. Welcome to our hive. It's got the little bee on it and the honey and the heart. Super cute. And I also think this would be really cute, like for a gift giving idea, if you were going to give somebody a little something. Or you could even put a gift card in here if you wanted to, just to brighten somebody's day. So I'm going to peel this off just like we did on the other one. Just kind of pull those threads Get your fingernail, pull the little threads or tweezers if you need them, and maybe even a pin, and just pull some of those loose all the way around the edges so I've got just a little bit of a fray. I feel like it helps me blend out my edges a little bit better, and that works best for my type of crafting. You could also, if you didn't want to do this part, you could trim it out with either be very careful when you cut and make it nice and square, or you could trim it out with some ribbon or some jute, something like that. Okay, so remember what I said about burlap. This stuff is thick, and it's going to take quite a bit of Mod Podge to get anything to stick to it, right? So I'm going to put a good coat. I mean, it's going to look like mayonnaise on a piece of toast. It's got to be thick. I'm going to lay my little beautiful vignette picture on here, push it down. You will see even then it's not trying to stick. You got to go back over the top of it with a good thick coat of that Mod Podge, and I mean a good coat. This little bag is going to be stiff on the front when we're done with it, but it makes it so nice because it won't bend down or buckle when you put things in it. And you know, guys, in the end screen, I'm going to show you everything completed. So don't be upset or worried that you didn't see something or that I missed something to show you. You're going to see it very, very soon. But you're just going to go all over this. Pull up on that after you get done, kind of lift up on it so it's not touching the divider that you have on the inside. Unless it's a piece of saran wrap or a plastic bag, then that won't matter because it should peel away from that fairly well, but I can't guarantee it. Can't guarantee it, so I did it this way. All right. Very nice. It is stuck now. Here's that beautiful bag, y'all, ready to decorate or give as a gift. I love it. I just have a paint bottle in there right now just to show you. The first is going to be a patriotic jar sign. I've got some ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Just, the patriotic colors, blue, white, red. And then here are some that are actually in the 4th of July section in Dollar Tree. Then you can get 2 packs of bandanas. I've already used one, so I'm going to use this one and this cute little sign. I thought this sign was pretty much ready-made and really looked nice on its own. So here's the info if you want to try to find one. And we're just going to embellish this sign. We're not going to paint it, cover it up. We're just going to add a little something extra. So grab that hanky, put it in a diamond shape, take your tag off Mini Pearl. Then we're just going to fold it a little bit. And I'm a big fan of Scooby-Doo still after all these years. And we're going to make an ascot for our jar. How about that? Or a bandana or a scarf. However you want to look at it. I thought this was a little bit different, unpredictable, and I thought that it would be cute on this little jar sign. So just doing a little simple knot over here. You can do a double knot if you want to, or you can just kind of secure it with a little bit of glue, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tack this down in just a few places to keep it from sliding around, but we don't want to do, too much to it. I want this to look like it's got a little movement in it, because to me it just looks a little more interesting, and the dimension that it gives just makes it a little more interesting rather than being flat. So we're going to try to play around with this just a little bit until the look is achieved and everything's secure. So now by just pulling this over a little bit and leaving those little wrinkles, it almost looks like fold lines when the wind blows, and I like that. We live on the lake and we almost always have a little bit of a breeze going. So you can see what I've done. It's very easy, and just using a little hot glue, it works perfectly. I like this blue and white polka dot, and I also like this red. The red one is surprising because I thought the quality would be less because some of the ribbons are very, very thin. But this is actually like a, what do you call it? What's the word? Grosgrain? Grosgrain? Yeah, one of those things. So the red and white ribbon is actually kind of ribbed. It's nice. The texture is nice. And then this one's kind of silky. So we're going to do 3 of each one. And you could see that we did, I think that was 8 or 9 inches. Keep them all the same length. You're going to fold it in half and grab it right in the middle. We are going to make a funky bow, and this is the tiniest funky bow I've ever made. But I thought it would be cute for this festive project. So if you have 4th of July at your house and you have parties at your house, these kind of little things are a little bit quicker, like this project, than some of the other things. If you don't have the time to craft something that takes a little more in-depth kind of detailing, then something like this would be a good option for you, I think. Keep in mind, I have little hands. I wear a size 5 ring, so I have small hands. And if you have larger hands, you might want to make your bow a little bit bigger, just because it gets kind of challenging to hold those little tiny short bows in the crook between your finger and your thumb. Well, I did anyway. These are not wired ribbons, so keep that in mind. We're not going to make that a problem. I'm just going to use a zip tie to put mine together. I'm just kind of checking the tops to make sure that they were the same length, so when we fluff it out, the bow will look nice. And then, so we zip tied it, and now I can start dovetailing my ends. If you don't like a dovetail, I can't imagine anybody not liking a dovetail, but I do understand on small projects, you just want to cut a little slant in it and be done with it. So I'm going to do a couple of little dovetails in here, and it's tricky because it's a really small bow compared to what normally the funky bows look like. But I'll show you how to make a bigger one and a little bit different shortly on another project, so stick around. And then you can just cut smaller ribbons at a slant instead of trying to dovetail that. Get your glasses on so you can see what you're doing. We don't want to cut fingers here. Then you just kind of grab it and twist it. Now this is where having something wired would really come in handy because it kind of locks everything into place a little bit better. But you can definitely make it work without using wired ribbon. So we're just going to have no excuses here. If you don't have wired ribbon, it doesn't matter. Grab up some regular ribbon that you have there and just glue it down and start flipping it around and pulling and manipulating those loops on the top. When you want something to stay in place, all it takes is a drop of hot glue to tack it down. I don't want everything to be glued flat down because it takes the dimension away. I just want to add a couple of pieces here and there to keep the ribbon from flipping to the wrong side. So the fun part is you can use buttons or stickers or any type of a wooden embellishment, or these are actually little spokes from a bicycle kit that I bought. And it has these little things that you snap on the bike. Well, we're going to cut some of those off and we're going to leave some of those on. So some of the little stars will be a little higher up and some will be a little bit lower down. So trim those off for a few of them. And if you cut something like this into a bag, it keeps you from flinging it across the room, because I have definitely cut the backs off of buttons and never saw the button again. So here's an option for you. Okay, so I've just kind of put them out where I want them to be, and it's pretty much over the original stars that are on there, so pretty easy to follow that. I hope y'all saw our exciting news about the cruise. We cannot wait to craft and cruise with all of you. I'm going to put the details in the description box, and if I can remember to put it in a card, then I'll put it in a card at the top of the screen for you, so you can check out how to join us on our cruise next year in February. All right, so I'm going to continue around here and put these all over. You could use half rounds. You don't even have to do this, but you know how I am about dimension. So I want to have dimension in my projects, and that gives it a little something extra. So the first one is going to be a strawberry leaner. This would be a good porch leaner, I think. I've got some large craft sticks, a couple of red rulers, got 3 of those. This is a flag. I got this from Dirt Cheap. And then 2 of these signs from Dollar Tree. I'm going to take the hangers off. You can reuse those little jute strings for any other project. I'm going to line these up together. They look like they fit pretty well, and I think a pattern like this will give us the support we need to turn these two pieces into one. I don't want it falling over and breaking, and I want a lot of surface area covered by glue so that we don't have this break apart. This is a pattern I chose, and I'm just going to add some hot glue here. These are just the larger sticks, but you can definitely use the smaller ones. You can use rulers, whatever you like on the back. You could actually even, if you had a third one of those signs, take the third sign and go across the middle in the back, and that would actually give it a lot of good support, I think. But this will work for what we've got going here. All the way down to the bottom. I love that this sign has the white distressed look. I think it's going to look really nice when we cut this flag down to make this sign. You can use a combination of wood glue, or you could use super glue on this, whatever type of adhesive that works best for you. I'm using Gorilla Glue because if mine goes outside, it's definitely going to need to be protected from the weather. My particular garden sign here, or garden flag, has 2 layers and then a gray layer in the middle. I think the ones from Dollar Tree only have 2 sides, so you just choose whatever one you like. We're going to just clip the string along the seams and then pull. This is like a nylon type fabric, and it is see-through. You can definitely see it. I guess that's why they have this silver looking lining in the middle. Just continue to just clip a little bit, but don't cut into the flag itself. You want that picture to be pretty and intact. So I'm going to go down and do this whole thing here. Now I want to address the stars on the bottom. The stars I love, and I think that they are great for 4th of July and patriotic holidays, but for this leaner, I don't think that they really fit in. So we're just going to cover these up and make it look like it was intended to have this rectangle pattern over the front. And I got these red rulers when I was thrifting. It was a pack of school rulers, so you can definitely get some paint and just paint your sticks if you want to, or you could use the plain color. This is what I had, and it just made my work a whole lot easier just to use this. So I'm going to go along here with 3, and 3 did cover this completely. I had considered going down one more, but I like the white down there, so we're going to leave it. There are the little holes from where we hung it, and if you would like to, you can take some spackling that you get at Dollar Tree and just close those little holes in. Alright, so now we have 1 layer of this flag, and that's all we're going to need for this project. I know that it's going to fit. I'm going to use my, I think this is either outdoors or dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I live in the South. It gets extremely hot and humid, and it has not been unusual for a wreath that was not prepped carefully to be blown apart, or just for the glue to just melt and things to come apart. So I don't want that happening here. Once I get a good even layer underneath, and this is just enough to make it sticky really, because we're going to put another layer on top, I'm going to pull this flag around. Now you see, the first time I did it, I could not get it on there square, but once I kind of folded it and lined it up on the top, then I used another one of those rulers to kind of press it as I pulled it. That got all of the wrinkles out very well. This was a good little technique to use. I've used rulers before but it's been a while. It's been a while. So don't you just love the print on here? I love this. It's perfect little summertime strawberry porch leaner. I'm going to grab that Mod Podge again and go all over the front of the sign, all over the place that we have this flag. Because now this is going to be one piece with the little signs that we have in the back. It's going to look like one sign. A little short, squatty sign. You want to make sure this is completely dry. It does take almost a month to cure, but you can go in between your layers. Just follow the rules on each of your different Mod Podge bottles, because I think they may be a little bit different in the way that you apply them or the time that you need to let them dry in between. Now, I could trim this completely off, or I could put extra glue on it and sand it, but I really didn't have that extra time. I've been snuggling a lot with my new grandbaby, so yes, thank y'all for all the congratulations. I'm trying to save a little bit of time so that I can share my time with my daughter and the baby, because it's her first, and we're all getting to know each other still. So I'll just go completely around the edge here with my protected finger and that hot glue, and make sure that I have a nice clean edge. I found that because I have a corner to do up there, it was a little bit easier to start in the middle and then work my way toward that folded end. Then I remembered I had this beautiful plaid ribbon, and look how pretty this looks across the bottom with this. You could definitely leave it off, but if you want to do it like I do it, very simple. This one I believe I got at the thrift store, this ribbon. Possibly could have got it on a clearance. I'm not really sure. I'm just going to pull it around and then glue it, trim it off so it looks a little bit more decent in the back, but you can cover the sign in the back or you can paint it, whichever way you like it best. And you could certainly add a hanger on this and just hang this outside rather than have it leaning against your porch. I'm just scooting that ribbon around. I'm not going to glue it on the front, that way I can, move it around a little bit. You can add to it here if you want. You can add extra ribbon. You could add a bow. Again, you could add a hanger if you wanted to, but this is perfect. You can watch my videos on Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it's free. The next is going to be a fairy home. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun on this one. We're going to start off with some pine bark that I have in my yard. A little fairy door that came from Dollar Tree. And here's the details. It's going to clear up for you. There you go. Fairy garden forest figurine. Little door. Really cute. Needs a little work, but that's okay. We're going to change this up just a little. You can use whatever type of moss mat, loose moss, reindeer moss, whatever you have. You can use some lichen if you want to use that, whatever you got. We're going to be using some of these little sticks. And then pieces that have been foraged. I want to use the bigger pieces here in this project. And then there's some that look like little burnt pancakes. You can see how these are shaped. And there are some turkey tail and some more moss. It's a lot of textures going on here, which I absolutely love. So when you're out, just look at the trees and see what you can find. So you're going to need some type of wood glue. So there's two choices here. There's Elmer's wood glue. Couldn't get the lid off, so I switched over to my Gorilla wood glue. I took the top off of this one. You can see it's really thick. Needs to be mixed up though, because there's some liquidy part, so I'm going to just mix that up with a little stick here. Make sure it's all the same consistency so we got no chunks. Alright, so I'm just going to take the stick, and right here on the bottom there's a piece where the bark wants to come off. I'm just going to put that bark back down. We have to do some work on this piece of pine bark before we can add anything to it, because it's fragile. It's very fragile. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this and stabilize as much as I can, and I'll show you how to do it. You see how that's loose there? I'm going to flip it over onto the back. And this piece, when I picked it up, I got the vacuum cleaner. I vacuumed it out. I used a brush, but you can see that it's still flaky. That's not dirt on the back. That's just part of the tree, part of the wood. So don't be distressed when you see those things. You got to be willing to get your hands dirty for this project, y'all. You really do. So I'm just going to go all down in those big cracks or fissures that are in this, because I want it to be nice and strong and glued together well. I don't want anything falling apart because we're going to hang this on the wall later, right? If you're going to hang it up, you don't want it falling apart. So I'm stabilizing it. I'm going to use Gorilla hot glue sticks all over here too. Once I've got the regular glue down there, I'm going to smear it around on the top. Just to stretch it out, just to stretch it across there. And then we'll add a little more glue to it because we want to be sure that it stays once that's kind of settled. You know, hot glue, you got to move really quick with it because it'll harden up on you, and then you can't make anything stick to it. So you'll just add some more as you go along. It's not going to hurt you to use more glue here because I always tell y'all to save your glue, to just be careful with your glue. You don't need a ton. But these are the projects where you need to use more. You need to be generous with that. So just using some burlap strips, I'm just going to go and push that down into that wet glue all over the back. I did use 4 strips. Now moving on to the Dollar Tree door. I'm going to be using a variety of paints, and I'm just showing you here what colors we're going to be using to work on this door. I want it to be a little bit different than the painting that's already on there. It's fine the way it is if you don't want to do painting or you don't have the paints on hand, but I like to paint. I found that that is something that I enjoy doing, and I like to see the transformation. So I have a variety of brushes also. You're going to probably prefer to use smaller brushes in this project because you have some small detail work to do. So we're going to start off with the wood part of the door, and I'm just going to use this chocolate brown and go all over the door. I'm using the chocolate brown because the pine bark is dark, so I want it to kind of recess almost when we put it down on the bark. And you'll see what that looks like shortly as well. You won't see me paint the whole thing, so don't exit, don't leave me yet, because believe me, you're going to want to hang around to see how this thing turns out. To make it a little quicker, you can use a hair dryer or heating tool to dry between the areas that you paint. So once we've got all the brown where we need it, we just dried it. Now I'm going to go over my green and take that bright green down and just put more of a dark or a foresty type green on there in all the areas that are green. I'm going to change the colors of the flowers. I'm not sure I'm going to show you when I do that. I'm also going to repaint the mushrooms and the steps. So it's all going to be a little different. So here's the transformation. This is how it looks now. I love that bright yellow in the window because it looks like it's lit up. Thomas Kincaid-like, I guess. All right. So it's been 2 days. My wood is stable. You can see that. Still little pieces will come off, but you can see what we have going here. This was so easy to do. It just takes the time. Remember, it's not hard. It just takes a little more time. Now I'm going to place the door right there. That little crack was perfectly made for a fairy door. I knew it when I saw it in the yard. So I am grabbing some wood glue. I'm going to put that in the center, and then I'll be using my Gorilla Glue sticks to go around the edge to make sure that this doesn't fall. Because although it is small, it does have a little weight to it. It's not plastic. Okay, so I'm going to place it down, and I want to make sure that I leave edge around it that's open because we're going to add something to it. And then we're going to give a little ledge here with a mushroom. We want our little fairy to be able to come out and hang her little legs off the edge. And by the way, there won't be a fairy in this video, but the next video that I do with a fairy, you'll get to see her. I remade a fairy, and oh my goodness, y'all, I'm telling you, be watching for that video. Don't know what I'm going to title it yet, but she's amazing. So I'm going to use this glue, and I'm going to go all around in the cracks, any place where it could drip down or where it needs to be closed. I want it to have very close contact to that bark. I'm going to take some of a moss mat, and I'm just going to cut it down, and I think that's going to look cute under there. And then just glue that down. The hot glue is not going to bother the mushroom at all. The mushroom, if you've never felt one, feels almost like a very hard foam. They're lightweight. It's kind of hard to explain the texture to you. But I love them. I love mushrooms. I love stuff that grows in nature, and I love the idea that even when things appear to be dead and appear to have no life at all, that there's life that comes from it. So mushrooms grow, all those things will still grow. The bugs will live in the, will nest in there, and trees are great places for birds. Some birds nest on the ground, these are good little hiding spaces. So what a perfect place for a fairy to hide, right? So I'm going to continue down, and since it gets more narrow on the bottom, I've decided to just do a little something more narrow down there on the bottom, just kind of going with the shape of this piece. Yours might not look like this, so again, my videos are for inspiration, and you can do whatever you want, and it won't be wrong if you like it, right? That is right. And I want to address a comment that I got in another video, that I will never be like another, I won't say the name, but that will never be another whatever. I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm too old to do that. I'm not a copycat. There are so many ideas that people can have, and crafters, it's not like an original idea. Most things that people make have already been made by somebody else. But I'm telling you now, I don't ever copy people. And if I use an idea or something that I've seen on another person's channel, I will tell you that. Otherwise, I do it myself. And I have not been watching a lot of craft videos because I don't want people to think that I just try to copy. No, I don't run off of anybody's gas. I do my own thing on my channel. I always make things my own. I try to be original, but if somebody else has already done it, that doesn't mean I copied them, right? I mean, do you get what I'm saying here? You get what I'm saying? So comments like that are just going to be deleted on this channel, because I keep this space as a positive, happy space, right? Yeah, we don't want to fool with all that negativity. We don't do that. So you can see that I've just glued moss all around that door. Love the look at it. She's trying to have a little insulation around her home, or him, whichever one you like. And I thought it would be cute above to make maybe a little ladder going up to the top, because maybe this little fairy doesn't always want to fly. She wants to walk too. She does have feet, right? So maybe they want to climb to the top and get a better look at everything. Maybe they want to climb up there and look into a bird's nest. Yep. They might want to check on their friend bird, right? They're friends. Fairies are friends with nature, so we're going to make life easy for this fairy. We're going to give her a lot of options. I'm just using those little sticks from Dollar Tree, but you can use sticks from the yard, cut down, whatever. I've had these for a long time. I got them at the thrift store. You can get them at craft stores. I'm going to use the smallest little pot, and we're going to make a little pot. We're going to make a little potted plant for the fairy. Sounds silly, doesn't it? But this is a fairy home. We want her to feel happy here, he or she. So I'm just staining it with a little Waverly wax on a wet baby wipe. And I'm just going all around, and then I'll go down into the inside slightly. You can see how it looks. Looks a little dirty, looks a little woodsy. I'm just going to poke some moss down in there, just like that. And then we're going to add some hot glue. Voila. And then I'm just going to take a little piece of a floral pick and just cut the little seeded section out, or the little berry section out. You can use little mini flowers. You can use whatever you want to use here. And I'm going to use a little bit of moss, again, trimming it off, just giving it sort of a circular shape. We don't want sharp points in nature, right? We have curves and things like that, so this isn't a rock. We want it to be nice and curvy. And I'm going to put that right down here on the bottom. And then we're going to add some up here on this, excuse the blur there, it was focusing on my arm. And we're going to tuck some moss right here. So I'm kind of going between the matte and then the thicker moss. Do whichever way you want, and that's why I want to show you this, whatever you like to use here. The scale of this is better to me than maybe Spanish moss, because Spanish moss really grows hanging off of things. They don't grow in little clumps on the bottom. But you could certainly use it around the edges if you wanted to. Or heck, use it however you want. We don't know. We know that maybe our little fairies are crafty too, and they like the Spanish moss. Just use what makes you happy, y'all. Then I'm going to be gluing some little extras here and there. And I forgot I had this little welcome sign, but it has a pink flower. So we're going to change it with a little sunflower yellow and some parchment white. And I got a tip. that when you're painting, kind of stabilize your hand to paint these things, and that has worked wonderfully for me. So whoever gave me that tip, thank you. I'm still learning to paint, but I really like it. And then the center will be yellow. Here's a little pack of mushrooms I got from Dollar Tree. We're going to add those because the little house is like the same color, right? Or the same type of mushroom, rather. The color's a little bit different. The dots on here are really small, and I wanted to make them bigger just because, you know, you do it your way. You don't have to. But I wanted to make these bigger, so I'm just going to go over with the tip of the brush, the bottom, and as big as the brush bottom is, or the stick part of the brush is, that's how big the little dot will be, and then let it dry. I found this little bench at Dollar Tree. I went over it with some Waverly antiquing wax, and then I also redid the mushrooms just like I did on the other mushrooms, and I'm going to place that down. Now she has a little picnic area on the side. Maybe she's growing herbs in that pot, or she's growing some veggies, who knows. And look, there's the bird nest that I alluded to earlier. We're going to add the bird nest. I'm just looking to see where it might fit best, and I think I like this little ledge right here. This is thrifted. You can make one with moss if you want to, or, you know, you could probably find one at Dollar Tree. Just going to add it, let it sit there for a minute, make sure it's nice and in place. And then I'm going to tuck some moss in the back of this little area. It looks like a little window seat or a little shelf. And I'm just going to add some glue to some mushrooms and tuck those in there. We have mushrooms on top of mushrooms, y'all. We're using our imagination. I'll take a couple more of those sticks. Some of them had little branches off of them, so I thought that was cute, and I'm going to add those around the nest because he needs to be a little more stable, right? So I'm just going to add one to the bottom section that hangs off, and then one going upwards from the nest and upward to our little piece of art that we're creating. Now I can start with my turkey tails. When it gets hot here in Alabama, when it starts getting, and when I say hot, I mean consistently hot. It's been cool here, and then warm, and then cool, and warm, and rainy, and then dry. But once it is consistently the right temperature for optimal mushroom growth, I will have a lot more variations of color in these turkey tails and in mushrooms. So be ready for that, because I will definitely be showing you more crafts with those. Because, I mean, the best way, I mean, how much money do you think that I've spent in this piece of unique work here? Not very much money at all. What, maybe $4? Maybe $4. Then I'm going to add, I kind of like, in the curvy areas, kind of want to add a little more. And if there's a piece of this bark that has a little bit of a lip that tucks under, it's the perfect place to add a little turkey tail or something like that. It rounds it out, it gives it something extra. But you can do whatever you like here. The texture of these is like a thick, papery texture. They're pretty tough, but you can cut them and you can break them and tear them if you need to reshape them. And I want to add these here and there. So they will grow in a cluster, but most of the time when I remove it from the tree, in order to keep from breaking them, I remove them in sections. So now it looks like they grew that way, right? Now I'm just changing it to make it look like that's the way they grew on the tree. We're going to add some more mushrooms in here. You can see that my little welcome sign is up there with the little white and yellow. I like that it matches a little bit better. And again, you don't have to repaint the pieces if you don't like. It's just something I enjoy doing. Let's tuck some around this little bird's nest for a little extra security. And maybe the fairy likes to sit on there, right? Maybe she's flying and she likes to light right there. I get lost doing these types of projects. Like it's that part of me that, and you know, if you're a creator or a crafter, that
ideas just come to you and then you're working off of a thought and then you sort of start working off of emotion or intuition. It's like something else starts telling you what to do. Like the logic is gone and you just start moving by feeling. And that's how it works for me when I do these types of projects. I get lost in it. And that's kind of where I was here. But I think this looks cute. And if I was a fairy, I would definitely be digging this. Yes, this is prime real estate, folks. Prime. Look at it. I mean, y'all, this seriously, so cute and so fun to do. Are you getting ideas? Are you feeling inspired yet? All right, so we're going to have a way to hang this up because it's not going to be a project that lays down. So I'm going to take some of this little tube of whatever this is, and I'm going to tie 3 knots in one side, and then we're going to do the same thing over here. I just sped it up because nobody wants to see me do that. Slipping the knots right on top of one another to give us some bulkiness. And then you're going to have a hanger that looks about like this. You can see there. This is now stable, so I'm going to gently flip it over. I don't want to break anything because, you know, it still can break and it still does flake off a little bit here. Holding it up with one hand, I'm going to add hot glue and put the knot section right down in the hot glue, right on the back toward the top. Now I'm using this type of hanger because the weight may shift because of the size of this. So you want to be able to have a hanger that you can move back and forth. The first one is going to be a lemon banner sign. I have a little stencil here, and this is from Essential Stencil. I have a calendar page from Dollar Tree with lemons on it. Here's the artist. Let's give him some credit. This sign from Dollar Tree. I like the shape of it. This little, I think this is it says a wreath charm and a placemat, and this one came from Dollar General, so it's even less than $1.25. Love this print so much. So I'm going to take off this little applique. This is just a little detail on the front that's raised up. It's paper, so I'm just sliding this little knife under here and just loosening it up because I'm going to use this as a measuring piece for something we're going to add later. Perfect. Now we're actually going to use this side, so we're going to take our tags off and we're going to use this side to put our project down. It's nice and smooth. We don't have to go through any extra work of sanding or painting. I'm going to put it on top of the placemat. Use my little clamps to help hold it in place, just to make sure it's lined up perfectly while I trace it out on the back of this placemat. Alright, so I'm going to take a black marker here and I'm just going to go around the edge, and I am making sure that I don't bump the sign with the edge of that marker. I just don't want that black on there. Make it nice and clean. Alright, so then we will take the clamps off. Here is that shape, and then all you have to do is take your scissors and cut it out. And these placemats are very easy to cut, very smooth to cut. You can use your scissors or whatever tool you have to trim that down, and you can see that it fits perfectly on there. We're going to use it this way, so we're going to flip it upside down and use it differently than it was originally intended. I've got my clamps ready, I've got my fix-all adhesive from Dollar Tree, and then we're going to use our glue gun to put this piece together. So I decided to use the fix-all rather than just the hot glue because that surface is really slick on that placemat, and I don't want it to pull off of the hot glue. So this is just going to be kind of a little bit of insurance that nothing comes apart here. And I was down to the end of that tube. Got some more backup though, always got some backup. So now I'm going to quickly put down some hot glue here on this, what is going to be the bottom, or it's actually going to be the top of our sign, because we're going to flip it around again in a minute. And quickly put that in place, slide it around, and while it's on that fix-all, you can actually pick it up and move it if it's in the wrong spot. So if you choose not to do hot glue, and you certainly don't have to, then you can just skip that. I'm using my little clamps here to make sure that it sticks down well to the hot glue that I put and to the other glue. And I've flipped it around, and I'm going to work on the outside edge of the curved part. And you can see that the fix-all has not dried yet, so it's easy to lift it back up. You always want to put your hot glue down last because it cools the quickest, and once it's cool, it does not have any stickiness. So we're going to grab all those little clamps and just hold everything down, and I'm just kind of rubbing it with my fingertips in case there are any little raised areas from that glue. I'm trying to push it down onto the board and thin it down just a little bit. We don't want any obvious bumps. So here's that little label or the little sign piece. I'm going to add this to some, this is some foam board, and I'm just going to cut it. I'm showing you here, you can cut it with scissors, but it's much easier to do it with some type of an X-Acto knife. So you can just go right down the center. I'm going over the line that I traced. We're going to flip it over, fold it, and then you can clearly see your line in the back, and just go ahead and cut down that line to get the two pieces. We're only going to use one, so we'll put one aside for another project, and use my sanding block just to make those edges a little bit smoother. I don't want anything to interfere with the next step of this process. So once you sand it, just kind of wipe it off. You're just getting the roughness down, any little jagged edges. And the only part of this calendar sign that I want to use for the project is the lemon portion. So I'm going to cut it out, making sure that it is bigger than what I need, because I want enough so that it will overlap by about 1/4 of an inch on the back side. That's going to give us a nice smooth finish, and we shouldn't have to worry about it peeling off. So another adhesive I like to use is a glue stick. Good old Elmer's glue stick. Now for whatever reason, this glue stick should be purple and it's barely showing up. However, it is still very sticky. So just in case you use your purple stick and it's losing its color, in my situation, it still works perfectly fine. So don't throw it away, don't give up on it. Try it and see what happens. I'm going to just rub that down with my hand to get it in place. Flip it over and crease right along the edges with my fingers, because we're going to fold this over to give it a nice clean edge. Now you may look at these pieces and think, why would you put those particular pieces together other than the fact that the theme is lemons, right? Well, I had an idea or a vision for this of sort of like maybe a vegetable market or a produce market somewhere, you know, in little towns where they on the weekends maybe rope off the neighborhood or rope off downtown, and everybody walks up with their baskets or comes up on their bike and collects all the goodies that they want. So that was kind of my vision with this sign, and when we're done with it, you can let me know if you feel like it actually comes across that way. So again, with the fix-all, because we're sticking it to that slick placemat surface, I'm going to add just a little bit. It won't take a lot. This sign really doesn't weigh very much. I just don't want it to be knocked off. So in between there, we're going to add some hot glue on the edge, not too close to the edge because you don't want it to squish out when you put it down. And then I'm going to flip it over and put it, it's not going to be centered because it's a little bit short, but you won't notice that. You won't notice it at all. I want the lemon word to be off to one side. I'm going to press it into place until my glue cools. And then on the back of that wreath charm, or on the foam board underneath, I'm going to add some more of that Fix All adhesive, which is really just a super glue, or E6000 will work too. And then I'm going to add some hot glue and overlap this. You can do it squared up, or you can kind of do it at an angle, whatever way you like it. But you can see welcome, and then the bicycle, and then lemons. It looks like, you know, if you're going to go in there and get you some lemons for some fresh cut lemonade. So I've got this little dowel rod now, and I want this to be something that will hang, right? It's at a little farmer's market. We want it to hang up so that everybody can see the goods that we're selling. So I'm going to cut my dowel rod down, cut it with whatever you have, and then use your sanding block to smooth your edges so it won't be rough looking. And then to put it on the back, there has to be some way to attach it right to the edge of that board. So we're going to give it a little support with these popsicle sticks. These actually may be just called crafting sticks because they're pretty big. They're larger than, you know, the standard size. So I'm just going to use hot glue for this part, and I'm going to have it overlapping. You can see that it overlaps so that this stick will sit right against it and look as though it is all one piece. And I'll just use the same as we did before, a little Fix All, a little bit of hot glue, and then we'll put the dowel rod down so that we have something nice and finished looking. See, it's kind of rough right there with the popsicle sticks, but we won't notice that. Right along the edge, you can add your hot glue, and on the top of where the little welcome bicycle sign is, that one too. Just to give a little more security, you can go back over your seam here. Because it's on the back side, you won't be able to see this when it is finished. Just going to make sure everything is nice and secure with my Gorilla Glue. So here's the sign so far. We're going to use some of this twine. Now this is baker's twine. I am not entirely sure where mine came from. I feel like I probably got it at Goodwill because I wouldn't have had a reason to buy a spool that big anywhere else, especially with it being yellow and white. But it matches perfectly for this project. So I'm just wrapping it around the edge and then wrapping back over itself. You can see here what I'm doing, and then you'll see me do it on the other side. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue. We don't want a lot of a mess, just a little bit to catch that piece of string. Figure out how long you want it to be, and then once you get it in the right place, you can do the other side. Once that is on the back side, go ahead and you can cut it off, whatever extras you have. On the top of the welcome sign, I was going to fill that in with a little bit of spackle, but the spackle color is not the same. It's sort of an off-white color, and I didn't know if I'd had a paint that would match it without being so obvious. So I just thought, well, let's just put a bow on top of it. And this pretty bow, this ribbon came from Dollar Tree. And Dollar Tree may actually have some of these lemon placemats. I'm not entirely sure, but when I saw these displayed at Dollar General, I thought, yeah, I know the project for this. So I'm going to make a simple little bow here, and you can use whatever bow you like. Little stack bow would be cute here too. Or you can skip it. You know, maybe you have a little greenery you want to put there, or a little faux lemon that's flat, maybe like a bead or a sticker or something. You could put that there. I'm just going to put a couple of knots so that it doesn't slip out. Pull my tails down. This is a really tiny bow, just a little finishing piece, really. I'll take that baker's twine and wrap it around the middle. I was going to cut it off, but as I began to wrap it around the middle, I thought, that's different. That's a cute look. So let's go with it. I'm just going to put both ends into that glue and then trim off what we don't need. And then, of course, you know you always got to fluff and fuss with any bow, even if it's a tiny bow. So I want to make this bow very pretty, very nice and dainty. I'm just going to cut slants at the end here to put on the top. It's a small ribbon, so I think the slants look nice too with the shape of this circle, but it still kind of overlaps a little bit, so I will be trimming that down just a tad. I'm going to put it up as high up as I can go so that it doesn't cover too much of our welcome, and it will still cover that hole. And then, like I mentioned before, you know, fluff a little bit and trim up what else you need to trim up. I don't mind tiny bows. I think they're really cute, so that's fine with me to have them smaller. And doesn't that look like maybe a farmer's market sign? Bicycles welcome, bike riders welcome, come and get your lemons and make some lemonade. Yeah, I think that'll work. I hope you like this one. I really do like it. Today we're making some summer sunflower creations. Keep watching. I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back. The first project is a sunflower hanging sign. We're going to start off with a little bit of ribbon from Dollar Tree. I've got some ribbon that I got on clearance at Hobby Lobby. Both of these. I love this blue. I wanted some denim colored. 2 little slats of wood and a placemat with sunflowers. Alright, I'm going to use my staple gun as well and my glue gun and some other goodies. So I'm going to add some Gorilla Glue down here. On here I have kind of centered it in the middle, so this is going to be the top. And I'm going to place it down in that glue, and then I'll go back over it with my glue gun and staple 3. 1 in the middle, 1 on each end. I'm going to turn it around and do the other side. Now, be sure that you are using staples that are the appropriate length for the project that you are using. You do not want to staple into your table. So none of those heavy-duty woodworking staples. Those really long ones, you don't want those. These are kind of short. I had a misfire there. And that's all you need to hold these together. So now we have the structure. What a beautiful print. And I love the blue on here. We're going to make a hanger for it. And I'm just going to tie a couple of knots, one on top of the other, until I have it thick enough that it won't slip out of a staple. I'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we can flip it over. Now you don't have to leave your hanger this long if you don't want to. I just like the look of a long hanger on this type of a hanging sign. But you do what's right for you here. Now I'm going to staple so that the knot does not slip out. And then just to keep it from sliding around, I'm going to use some hot glue right between the knot and the staple to keep it all in place. You can trim off your excess. Let that glue dry before you lay it on your table, or you will glue it on the table. And I have done that before, but it's been a while. Okay, now we're going to make a bow. I have my own little bow maker tool down here, which was inspired by, you know, the one that is that you can buy at the store. Not my idea. I just went ahead and copied it because I didn't have the money at the time in the beginning of my channel to go out and buy myself you know, tools. I was saving every dollar I could, and I still do the same thing on this channel. We always do budget-friendly DIYs, and I want to make it affordable and doable for anybody who watches my channel. So if you don't have one, you can check out the link and make one for yourself. Now we're just going to make a bow here. You can see what I'm doing. I'm starting off on the bottom with 6-inch loops on either side, and the tails are about 10 inches long. I like to leave the tails a little bit long until I decide how I want the bow to look. Now I didn't have very much left of this beautiful ribbon, so I am just going to do what I can with what I have. This next layer of bows is going to be 5 inches, so we're going to make it a little bit smaller. This does have a very light wire in it, very light, but it's enough to give it some structure, so I'm happy with that. Be sure you check at Dollar Tree when you're looking at the crafter's square, and make sure that if you're needing a wired ribbon that you're actually getting that wired ribbon, because some ribbons, and actually a lot of the ribbons they have now, do not have wire in them. So just be sure that you're getting what you need before you purchase it. But Dollar Tree, you can take things back in and return it and swap it out for something else. So if you need to, you can do that. Now the sunflower ribbon is going to be in 4-inch pieces. It may be a little bit closer to 3 inches. It's a little shorter here. Y'all know I don't go by any type of a format when I am doing my crafts. I go by my gut, and I just do it. You know, you mess up, you just do it again. You don't like your bow, it's not tied together yet, take it apart, start over. Not a big deal. We don't want to be too harsh on ourselves, is what I'm getting at. You don't want to be too hard on yourself. Okay, so we're going to slide it off with a pipe cleaner and just twist it around the middle. Nice and tight so that they don't come loose when we are fluffing, because you know we fluff. A lot of fluffing. And I fluff all the way through. You can wait till the last minute to fluff your bow if you want, but this gives me an idea, if you know, of how much space it's going to take and where I need to put the bow based on how big it is or how much space it's going to take. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to dovetail the ends of the blue one and then the other blue one, and then the sunflower I will just cut sort of at a slant. This is real easy. If you want to do, if you don't like the little split tails here like this, the little dovetails, you don't have to do this. You can always do just a slant. I just recommend that you don't leave them straight across the bottom, because a lot of ribbons will fray that way. So, you know, you just make it look pretty, make it look like you did it with intention and purpose, and it's going to be fine. Okay, so I decided I wanted some more of the sunflower pattern. So I'm just going to make a little bow and I'm just going to stack it on top. This is the same type of bow that we were making on the bow maker, but I'm just doing it by hand rather than dragging that back out. I'm just going to make a little one and I'm going to set it here in the middle until I can decide if that's the kind of look that I'm going for. And it is. I'm just going to take those pipe cleaners from the back, wrap them around the front, and then pull them back to the back. And that's going to lock that one in place. And the good thing about using this pipe cleaner is if you need to adjust your bows, the loops a little bit or the tails a little bit, you can still do that. They're not glued together, so you can kind of slip around a little bit if you need to. I'm going to use my wire cutters and cut these. These pipe cleaners are twisted, so I also had to use my scissors to cut the fabric on them. Then I'm going to find placement for my bow. Now, I don't think I told y'all, I thrifted this placemat, but you know, you can use any placemat you can find at any store, and they're so cheap. Dollar General's placemats are $1. So you might consider looking at other places. You can look at garage sales, you can look at the thrift store to find a really pretty print you like and just use it for something else. You know, we don't typically use placemats in my house, but I've found that the artwork on some of them are they're really, really pretty. And you wouldn't know once this is complete that this is a placemat. Would you know? I wouldn't think so. So, you know, I'm just going to adjust a little bit more, get those tails a little bit higher. I don't want anything to really block out that pretty picture that's there. Don't y'all love that blue with the yellow? That is so pretty. So I'm going to try to make more projects with sunflowers. I'm definitely going to be making more this fall. I like the look of that bow. It's a little different, but that's okay. Now, because my tails are kind of floppy here and they want to fall down onto the picture because it's a heavy bow, you know, it's a big bow, a rather big bow. I'm just going to use a little dot of glue to just kind of put those tails up out of the way. I'm going to use a little scrap of foam to go on the back of my sunflower, which I pulled off the stem. You can see here that I'm adjusting that smaller bow so that it will hopefully extend past the size of that flower. I didn't anticipate putting the flower in there to begin with, or I would have made this a little bit bigger. You know, I would have left the loops longer on the sunflower one. But I didn't anticipate that, so we're just going to work with it. I'm going to take that, and the reason I put that foam on the back of there is because it's kind of concave on the back of the flower, and it wouldn't have had a flat surface to glue down. So I brought that up to the right height so that it would touch the bow and the flower and get a good contact with the glue. So then I'm just checking it out and looking and seeing what's going on here. And that's when I see, okay, well, this bow, the sunflower is really not enough. It's not long enough, but we're just going to work with it. You can poke it out of the flower petals if you want, however you want to do it. And again, I make adjustments, fluff out the bow. Whoops! I hit my knee on the table, y'all. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is how this little beauty is going to look. I hope you like this one, and I hope you maybe even have what you have at home and make. The next is burlap tags. This is a set of 2. Maybe my favorite one so far. Grab up some Dollar Tree ribbon, some Dollar Tree burlap. I'm using bees for this, and 2 Dollar Tree signs. These happen to be ones that were around at Christmas time, but let's use them now. I'm going to take off the tags and the hangers for both of them. If you want to peel the fronts off and use those, you can, but the back is already so pretty and clean. Let's just take these tags off and use the back. Save ourselves some time. All right, I'm going to start with the honeycomb. Place that down here. And the same way as we had done before, I'm just going to take a little snip here so I can get into it and then pull a long string out. That's going to give us our line. You can see here, it's like a run and some pantyhose. Pantyhose run. And we're going to cut along that line to get a nice straight line. Then we're going to flip the fabric and the sign over. Kind of get it somewhat centered so we have enough to grab off both sides. I'm going to add some hot glue here on the end and fold that up. And then we'll go all the way around just like that. I'll show you how to deal with the corners. All right. If you're enjoying this video and these projects, it would help me so much if you would give me a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel and you would love to see more creative, budget-friendly DIYs, then be sure you subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you as part of my family, and I love chatting with you in the comment section. All right, so we're just going to continue around and press this all down into the glue. It will hold nicely because that glue just gets right into the fibers of that burlap and just locks it into place. I love it. You can see how we do the top when you fold. Around the corners, you're just going to add a little bit of glue, fold it in on itself. Okay, and then you'll go right along that fold with some hot glue and press it into there. Easy to do. Don't worry about the way the back looks on these signs. You can always cover this with craft paper if you would like. Or maybe some black felt or something like that if you want to do it that way. If you're not hanging this on the door, nobody's going to see the back, so you can save your product. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the bee tag until we have 2 beautiful tags just like this. We will start working with the honeycomb one. Now on this one, we are going to do a stencil. These stencils came from Temu. I ordered these beautiful little things. I love them. I'm not sponsored by Temu in any way, shape, or form. I don't have codes or anything for you here, but lots and lots of crafters are doing hauls for Temu and are working with Temu, so feel free to go check those out if you want to find one. And then these are really great though. I really like these stencils, and since I'm not sponsored, you can truly believe what I'm saying here. I love these stencils. This worked out very nicely for me. Okay, so I'm going to take my stencil brush, I'm going to pat it down in there and just offload most of it. Offload means I'm just going to pounce it around until I don't have a wet brush. It's almost dry, but it still has paint. I'm going to go up to the stencil here and start going in circles. I'll just go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, all over the top of that stencil so that the paint goes straight down in there. My understanding is that if you pounce it upside down, you may get fuzzy edges, and I have actually done projects before where I have done the little pouncing technique, and I do end up with those little mess there.
So check this out though. That is so crisp. That turned out great, and I just used the chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree. So you see the little gaps here? We're going to use what's called a bridge brush to go in between each of those little gaps. So instead of looking like a stamp or a stencil, it will look hand painted and complete. I'm just going to go right over all the little gaps. You can see what I'm doing here. This is easy enough to do. Steady yourself, hold on to your wrist, whatever you need to do, get your magnifiers on, and look what a difference that makes. I'm loving the bee project, y'all. This is a little scrap. It almost looks like a wagon wheel. I'm not really sure, but I keep this kind of stuff when I find it. I'm just going to use this as a little ring for the top. So I'm going to go over it with that same paint. And since I had this brush, I just used that. Let it dry. And then once it's dry, you can use it. This is a little awl that came with a basket making kit. I'm going to use this to go right through that hole. I can see it from the back, so I'll start on the back side and just kind of wiggle it back and forth until you can see the opening. That way you'll be able to get your rope in there the way you need it. So we're going to cut 3 pieces of this jute cord, and I think I probably have about 14 inches for each of these pieces, and we're going to make a braid instead of just using a regular string through here. I just thought I would try something new. You certainly don't have to do it this way, but it's just something different. I'm going to use some of my painter's tape to tape it to my table right where the knot is, where I connected them together, and then I put one of my little electricity things on top. And then I think most of y'all know how to braid. You just take the inside, cross it over, and I'm going to go all the way down like this, back and forth, until I get the length that I like. Then I am going to add hot glue all the way around it and then cut it off. Now it's got a good finish like a shoelace. I'll take that little round piece, I guess we're kind of using it like a grommet, and I will settle that right down over the top where the hole is in the bee tag. Then I'm going to just push this through. I'm going to use my awl here to just help pull it through. And then I will thread that also through the one that's got the honeycomb in it. I'm going to take the 2 ends of those pieces of jute or the braided rope, and I am going to tie that in a knot so that they are attached. I'm going to feed that all the way through so it's smooth on the top and the knot is in the back. Then I'm going to add hot glue to hold these 2 tags together. You can use clamps to hold it in place too if you would like to do that, if you need the help. You can add that hot glue because sometimes these things will bow. Hold down on this or put something heavy on it until the glue is dry. While that is setting up, we're going to go over here to our ribbons, and we're going to use 4-inch pieces of ribbons. I'm using Dollar Tree ribbons and some stuff I already had. So I've got 2 of the bees, I've got 4 of the honeycomb. This is also some Timu ribbon. I've got 2 pieces of that, and then 2 pieces of this white linen. It's more of a cream color though. And I'm just going to make an X. I'm going to go over and over with whichever colors, whichever way you want to do it. If you don't want to put it in a pattern, you don't have to. You can just throw them all down there and just pick it up and put them any which way you want to. Just going to continue to cross over. Just like that. Alright, so then we can flip this over. Once we got the stack all together, I like to finish with the little bees on top. We're going to flip it over, and I'm going to tie it. Now the ribbons in the back are wider. They're going to try to fold up or curl up, and that's fine. Just take your time here, and you can just push those back down. I'm going to slowly do it where it's not too bunched up and messy. Try to keep it in shape. And then I'm going to tie a double knot. You can flip it over and tie it in the front if you want. Flip it out a little bit, pull those pieces out, almost like when you're playing cards and you've got your cards in your hand and you kind of push them to the side so you can see all of your cards. You kind of can do this bow that way, so you can see all the different ribbons. You can trim off what you're not going to use. Very easy. And then you could leave it like that, or if you want to go around the middle of it. I just thought I'd go around the middle of it with a little bit of this same cream color linen ribbon, just for the heck of it. But you certainly don't have to. The jute looks fine. Once that is all together, we're going to glue it down, and I want this right underneath where we put that little, I guess you could call it a wagon wheel, but it's our grommet for this, I guess. And then if you want to leave your ribbon straight, you can. You can dovetail these little ribbons. It takes a little more focus, but you can. Or you can just do like I'm doing and go in there and cut you some slants, just to look like it has a nice, clean finish. Some people like to take a little heat and kind of burn those edges, but for now they're not gonna come apart, so we're gonna leave it just like this. And remember, cover your backs if you need to make it nice and neat. If you're gonna give it as a gift, if you're planning on selling it, or if you're gonna use it on a glass door. The next project is a wall bike basket. Back to our material, we're going to use the daisies, and then we'll be using 3 different greeneries also. This came from Goodwill bins, and somebody else found it and gave it to me. She decided she didn't want it. Had it for a while now. I'm going to trim down my fabric so that I have about 1 inch to overlap on the top and 1 inch to overlap on the bottom. It does not wrap all the way around, and I do not mind that. Now, you might not have one of these bicycle baskets. That is totally okay. If you don't, you can still use the inspiration to decorate a basket. I know that Dollar Tree has the wire baskets, so if you find the ones that are gold, maybe even silver, black, I've seen black ones in there before. You can spray paint it any color that you like, or you can cover it with the material just like I'm doing. Protect your fingers, use your clamps to help get everything spaced out. Remove the clamp, add the hot glue, squish it down so again that it is sandwiched between there, but we don't want so much glue that it's coming out, because that's going to look sloppy and we don't want that. Take your clamps off, turn it around so that it is where you can get to it best. And then just continue along all the way around the top section and both of the side top sections this way. Once your glue has dried, you can take your clamps off. The clamps are not necessary per se, but for me, they are. They really save my time and make my work much easier. So I'm going to go in with my scissors and just kind of trim off the back and glue down what needs to be glued down. Once this arrangement is put together, you're not going to see the back, but by all means, cover yours all the way around if you don't have a piece that's going to hang on the wall. You won't see mine while it's hanging on the wall, but if you have a piece that you want to use maybe as a centerpiece, then you're going to want to cover the entire thing. So you will just patch it on there as best you can. I don't need to fill in the bottom because I know I need to add foam to it. Here is the greenery that I've chosen, and there'll be one more I'll add later. I'm going to take my daisies and I'm going to cut them off. Be sure when you buy these at Dollar Tree that you check each little stem to make sure you're not missing any flowers. You want to get your $1.25 worth for sure. This is a wet foam block that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to leave the plastic on it. This was a little bit less than perfect fit in here, but it was good enough. It was definitely good enough. I could build this up and use 2, but I only had 1, and we're going to make it work. It's going to take me just a little more effort, but it's going to work. Once you shove those wires through there, you can just go ahead, wrap them on the bottom and cut off anything extra and tuck it up so that you can't see that hardware there. Now I'm going to grab my greenery and start putting this in. I have chosen some really pretty eucalyptus, and I also have chosen some boxwoods that I'm going to add in. I like the roundness of the petals, or no, the greenery. The roundness of the greenery, there we go, with the roundness of the flowers that are on the fabric. I think it looks really cute together. I hope that y'all saw the project that I did with the bicycle. It was in the lemon video, and I did a bicycle kind of theme thing there too, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that. And I enjoy this too. And why in the world I don't get out and bike more is just beyond me, because I have a bike. I used to ride around, not anything serious, but but it's really good exercise, and you can really get where you're going a little bit faster than walking, Okay, so if you have a piece of greenery that's too short, you can go ahead and grab a longer pick, maybe that something else came off of. This is the one I used where I cut my flowers off, I do believe. And I'm just going to attach with floral wire those shorter pieces of the boxwood, and they are going to now be tall enough to stand up where they need to stand. Because remember, that block is way down in the bottom. So I have to be able to reach it. And we have to do that by using these stems. If we don't do that, then they're all going to be way too low and it just won't look right. So I added that the Dusty Miller in there. Didn't figure you'd need me to show you that. I only had like 3 or 4 pieces of it. And I have some of this that I got thrifting too. And I thought, you know what? This would be really pretty to just kind of continue that country, cottagey type look on this. And I think it turned out really cute. Now, by all means, don't use trim if you don't want to use trim. What else could you possibly use if you didn't have like a ruffle trim? Well, you could use any beautiful ribbon that you have that may be contrasting or that matches. You could use burlap trim. Certainly that would be okay. Or like a jute type trim, that would be all right. You could add a bow to your basket if you wanted. You don't even have to do this part. You can totally skip it. But it's real easy just to go follow around the edges and glue it right in place. Really easy to do. And of course, be sure that once you get it all glued in place, that everything looks good. Pick your project up, look side to side. The front part of it, on the back is not really as important. Like I said, it's going to be flush on a wall, not where anybody can see it. But I went ahead and trimmed up that piece anyway. And it already has a hanger on it. Now, it's going to be a little more difficult to see here that this is a bicycle hanging thing because the greenery is up so much higher than the handlebars. But I'm totally okay with that. I mean, I pretty much think that anyone can tell if you've seen a bicycle that a bicycle has a wheel under it. So that's kind of what I was going for, right?
The next project is our folding table flip. Very exciting. Okay, so y'all, this piece I got from Goodwill. Another lady that I have befriended there found it. She was going to get it and take it home, but it really did need some TLC. And she asked me, did I want it? And I told her, yes, I would love to have it. So I've had it for a while, and it's very functional, but I don't like the look of it. I don't like that orangey looking finish, and the painting. I mean, somebody did a beautiful job on it, but it just really doesn't fit my home decor. So I want to make it look a little more rustic, a little more woodsy, cottagey, so that it will fit into my home. And that is so easy to do. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do. You see how this table folds? You can just take it around and just take it around your house. I hope I find a million more of these because they are beautiful and they're so nice to flip. So nice. After I have sanded with my sander outside, this is how it looks. There are some pieces on here you can see where I didn't get every single bit of that
varnish or stain or whatever that orange looking finish was. I didn't get it all off, so we're going to work with that because I want it to look old and distressed on the legs anyway. And I think I do accomplish that. So be sure y'all stick around to the end of the video. When you see the final reveal, you can see what I have going on with this table and the changes that have been made. All right, all sanded. Now I've got it on my table. You can use a sticky cloth for this to get off all of your dust, or you can just use a dry towel or a damp towel. I like to use a slightly damp microfiber cloth to get all of the dust and shavings and paint particles and all that off there. We're going to start with a very nice clean surface because on the top we're going to be painting that, and I don't want anything to muddy up that paint. Now be sure when you're sanding and cleaning that you're getting the entire surface, the back, the outside, the edges, the inside, the underneath, the bottom of the feet. Do it all. Alright, so it's been wiped, it is dry, and now I'm going to use this wood tint. This is a very dark color. Very pretty, and it's going to be perfect for what I want. I'm using a sponge brush. We're not going to do anything with the top. We're going to do everything but the top. So with this, it is a very quick drying tint. It does what a stain does essentially, but it doesn't have the odor, and it dries very quickly. So I'm making sure that I paint all the surfaces. I'm trying to move quickly, wiping this on, and you need to use long streaks when you do it, because if you don't wipe it fast enough, you're going to have little white marks in there. I suppose you would if you used some type of a stain also, but I'm making sure I try to get it even. And then I'll just take a rag, a clean rag of course, or clean paper towels, and wipe off the excess. It's going to settle into the sanded areas. You can see on the edges there, it's going to be darker on the edges, around the nails. I think this is gorgeous. If you don't want the nail pieces showing, you could obviously cover that up with paint, or you can work your magic with some spackle or something like that. But I don't mind the hardware showing in this at all. You could also do like a faux rust finish on the nails if you wanted to. But I'm not worried about that. We're not going to get too complicated on this, right? Because the process of painting and staining may not take a lot of time, but the dry time is what really makes a difference. So be sure, like you can see here, I'm going to get all over the sides. I will open the table up and get down all of the legs. I'm not going to make you obviously watch that whole process, but just know that I do that. Every single bit of it. You can flip it up on the tabletop since we're not painting that, and you can do that. But you can see here the difference already in the color of the wood from that rich dark that I'm putting on there as to that orangey color that I had on there. And y'all, I'm almost out of foam brushes. I've got to order foam brushes. I've got to order sanders, chippy brushes. I got to get prepared because y'all know Halloween and this last quarter of the year that is coming up after the 4th of July, I am going to be doing some crafting because it's my favorite time of year. Our subscriber giveaway is in November every year, so y'all be sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell because you don't want to miss those giveaways. I mean, I really like to spoil people, so you will have a package full of all kinds of goodies. There may be thrift pieces, there may be new pieces that I bought, could be Dollar Tree, could be Temu, could be Amazon, could be extras that I have that I throw in the box that I like, could be remnants of really pretty ribbon or things that are difficult to find. You see how rustic that looks? I absolutely love it. So now we're moving up to the top, and I have popped the top up, and I'm going to very roughly put on some sheepskin white. It's like a white, off-white color that I put on the top of here. I've dry brushed it on here, and now I'm going to go down each one of these cracks. This was with a little, I think this is like a 3-pack or a 4-pack maybe of tools that you can get from Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to take my little sanding block here, and I'm going to sand it a little bit too, just to make the surface smooth case we have any raised areas. We don't want that. We want to be nice and smooth for this beautiful, beautiful wall decal. Y'all, this is a wall decal. I got it from Temu. Again, not sponsored, but I got it from Temu, and I am loving using these. So beautiful. Look at this. I absolutely love everything on here. Everything. Every bit of it. Even the process of peeling this off the backing was beautimous. My table was nice and clean and painted and dust free, and I am going to put down my decal. Now just take your time, be slow when you do this. You can pick it back up if you're very careful and slow, and put it back down. Look how nice this smooths down with my hand. What I like about this type of look is the potential for it to look aged and hand painted. This is absolutely beautiful to me, and in my head this turned out even better than I thought. It really did. I'm using my little squeegee or my scraper tool that came with my Mod Podge, and I'm going to go down and wipe, well, I say wipe, scrape at it. It's not a hard thing. I don't want to cut into it like with anything metal. So I'm using this like a plastic type tool and going all over it. You can use an old credit card, your driver's license, whatever. I'm going to just snip off the overhang here, and then I will sand it down so it is nice and smooth to that edge. Y'all look, I need to do my roots. Okay, so I'm just using a little emery board here to get that sanded off, make it nice and smooth on the edge, because again, I want it to look as though it's hand painted. Now I'm going to take my razor and go right down here. You can use a box cutter, the side of your scissors, a utility blade, a rotary cutter, a kitchen knife if you don't have anything else, to go down. Once you put a decal on, go down on any material that has slats in it if you want to make it look hand painted, and cut through there and make it look as though it was actually painted on there, because we'll be able to open it, see that, and sand it on the inside too. Every place that we cut, you know, we want to trim it down so you don't see any snags. You want it to be nice and neat. All those little extra details, y'all, really make things look so much better and well thought out. All right, once that's done and the whole table is dry, I'm going to be using some outdoor Mod Podge, because I might want to put a plant on this. I might want to put a glass of tea on here, something that may sweat in the summertime. Well, you know it's going to sweat in Alabama. But I'm going to put this on here. This is thick. I wanted to show you the texture of it because it's not exactly the same as the regular Mod Podge. It is very thick. So I've just grabbed a sponge brush and I am putting it all over, not only the decal where it attaches to the table, but the entire tabletop, the edges, and then when I open the table, I also put it in between the opening there, right down the middle. I'm trying to get the same amount of thickness all the way through. I'm going to open the table so that it can dry. The next project is the mushroom home. Let's see where she lives. Alright, so we could pretend she's on a secluded island. Here is her little home. This came from Dollar Tree, and y'all, I was very impressed. There's a little bit of spray over on the larger part of the mushroom here, but otherwise, I'm not going to change anything. This is another piece of that wood that I found in the yard. We're going to use this. I got this at the thrift store, and I knew that I could use this wooden piece over again. Now the bird's beautiful, but I don't like that it's turned yellow. Moss mat or moss, some more greenery of your choice, and then we'll stick some pieces of wood from your yard or from Dollar Tree. First, I've got to get I could either use the back side or the front. If you're going to use something that's glazed over like this, or has some type of a covering on it, sand it first, wipe it down, and then dry it off.
I'm also going to be using Gorilla Glue sticks to make this project stick together. So I have remnants left of this piece of mat because I've been using it a lot in these projects, these whimsical projects. And I'm just going to trim it down into pieces that will work on this. Now, what I love about this and the other moss mats that I have found is that once you get them in place, you can just take your fingers and run over the little gap and you won't even see that it was pieced together. So, you just kind of like brush it with your fingers, like if you were scratching your dog's back with just the tips of your fingers without your nails. You got to do that little motion and it kind of makes the fibers go together so you can't even tell. Because you're going to see the gaps here and there. I'm going to piece those together with little bits and pieces also. All those little pieces laying there, I'll be using those to fill in those gaps and you won't even know. Look at that. You can't even tell. And then right now what I'm doing is just getting off any stray glue, that's on there. I don't like that, so I'm making sure that's right. Then I'm going to find the placement for her home. I love the sizing and that this little piece of wood looks like it was made for this mushroom. Look at the fit. That's perfect. This video was meant to be made. She was meant to live here. So I started taking off this tag and then I thought, why? It's just going to be stuck down. Nobody's going to see it. So I'm just going to leave it and add a good bit of glue like we did on the other one and then press it down into the fibers. I'm going to hold it there until I feel like it's been there long enough. It's not moving around when I shake it. Then I'm going to fit this where I want it, grab my glue gun, and while it's sitting there, I'm going to work on, so you can see how it fits so great right there. We're not going to be covering this, so placement doesn't really matter. I just generally like to put the back of my projects toward the back so that I have more space in the front, to play with. And then I'll just go in with my glue gun. I'll make sure that there's glue that is between my mushrooms and the wood. That'll make it a little more stable. And then the pieces of the wood that is touching the bottom, I'm going to add glue there to make sure that that stays nice and stable. I don't want anything to fall over because this little beauty I'm going to keep for some time. Love it. Just put it where you need it. I'm trying to be careful with the glue. I don't want a bunch of glue spilling out. I don't want it to look sloppy. I want it to look neat, and I don't want you to be able to see it. So I'm trying to be precise where I apply my glue. Okay? Now you can see here, I'm moving my hand so you can see that it is all down on that piece. Love the look of this so far. So cute, just like this, I think. All these little nooks and crannies were just made for some moss to live and some little plants to grow, right? So I'm taking some scraps of that mat and just pressing it down into a little hot glue. You can see here how that works. You could put a tiny bird nest there. You could add more mushrooms. I'm going to play around with this fern and add some more in here. And I'm just going to make a bunch because I personally don't really see once, like in the summer when ferns are growing, they're usually in clusters. Now in the beginning you might see one little frond by itself, but for the most part, frond? Is that the word? Piece of fern. Yeah, I'm thinking of a palm frond. Yeah, but yeah, you'll see them in little clusters. So I'm just going to make them sort of like in a little cluster here. Because this is a summer project, right? Well, it could potentially be a summer project. I'm not going to use any flowers in here, y'all. None. This is all going to be greenery and kind of natural looking. So look at these. This came from Dollar Tree. It sure did. And there are caladiums in here and all kinds of stuff that I can't even name. But they're on wire, which makes the quality of them fantastic if you're going to be using these, because I don't want them to be flat. You can bend these out and you can arrange them a little bit so they look like they do when they grow. And they grow out from the center and fall to the side. That's how they look. Well, the heads of the flowers fall to the side. They stand up. So I'm going to use a little bit of my floral wire here to twist them together. And then I'm going to trim off because I want this to be flat. When it's flat, it makes it easier and you have a little more surface area to put your glue so that it will stand up a little bit better. That's just my experience. So you see that they're wired and you can just bend them, and look how much nicer that looks. Looks more realistic. I'm going to grab some of my floral tape. Y'all, when you use floral tape, I know a lot of people do not know. When you start twisting it, put some tension on it. You can see how I'm putting tension on the tape. When you pull it, it releases the wax, which makes it sticky, and it makes it stick to itself. Continue to put pressure and twist this, okay? Put as much on there as you like, and you can just tear it off when you get to the end. Now, I've had some glue right down in that crack, so I'm just going to place this down right on top. Now, it could be to the side, it could be behind, wherever you want to do it, but I'm going to add a little more glue here to kind of make it stand up. I grabbed a piece of greenery from my little greenery bucket or basket where I have a bunch of scraps, and I thought this would be something a little bit different. We'll put some fir in there, a cedar or fir, whichever tree this is, and I'm going to add that. And then the little pieces I'll just put here and there across the top just to fill in a bit. And add some to the back. You know, I like to do my projects where you got a little something surprising going on in the back. Even though there's not much room, you wouldn't think there would be, but I still like to do it because it's always surprising to turn it around and find those little hidden areas. So this is it so far. Got to keep y'all informed, keep showing you. This came out of another pack from Dollar Tree. It's a little mailbox, and I thought this would be really cute, but instead of putting it close to the house, I'm going to put it right underneath a little depression in that wood, in a little nook. I'm going to add some more greenery over here. This is so pretty. And Dollar Tree, y'all. Okay, now this I thrifted recently. These are little bits of cork. And they look like little rocks or little pieces of gravel, but they're really lightweight. Let's give her a walkway. I'm going to go right in front of the house, the same width as the little stone that's there on the bottom. And hey, y'all, use whatever little house that you like. If you want to use something different, a little cabin or whatever they have at Dollar Tree, you can just use that. I'm going to add some hot glue, or it might be easier if you're using your fingers to put that on a cool temp. And just pack that down and press it into that mat underneath and into the glue. I'm going to extend it all the way to the edge of this little plaque or her little island. All the way to the edge. Maybe this is her tropical getaway. I don't know, but I tell you what, I would live here. For sure. I love to be surrounded by green and woods and mushrooms and goodness. Love it. And then I'm going to make it almost like it rolls down or bevels down on the edge. And then we're going to make her some little steps. Even though she flies, sometimes she walks. I'm going to take a few pieces of that wood, and I'm just going to do like small, medium, and large so that the smallest step is on top. It's going to fit right there underneath that. I'm going to go ahead and glue the bottom and the second step on there. And then I will choose and place the top step. Doesn't take long for this part to dry. It's going to take a little while for the cork to dry, so just be patient with that. But it is all covered and it will stick down. I tried to shake off the excess and nothing moved. It all stayed right there. How cute is that? Yes. You can use gravel, or you can use anything that you have if you want to make a little walkway. You can even use those tiny little bits that you get out of like a fish aquarium. You know how they have the little colorful stones or little rocks? That would be really cute. I guess they call it gravel. I'm not sure. But that would be really cute for like a really magical fairy look. I always have these garden fairies and the ones that are woodland fairies, you know? But you do whatever you like best. Then I added some of that cork around the bottom of the mailbox just because I liked it. See, we got some stuff going on in the back and the front. I love it. I'm going to add some more moss in the other little areas. I always like to take a good look at the whole project, up close, far away, back, front, side to side, and just let my imagination run wild. I just add stuff where I want to, and you know, you don't have to do this much if you don't want to do this much, but it just makes my heart so happy. I feel like a kid doing this. And y'all, I just turned 50. On the 31st of March, I turned 50. And it doesn't bother me one bit. You know, it doesn't. I feel good for 50. I do. Look at that. That's cute so far, right? So we're going to place another little piece of wood over here because maybe she needs a bench where she can come out and contemplate before she takes a little fly over to her playground so she can sit in her swing. And then, of course, if there's a tree stomped down, we got to have something living by it, right? Let's just add a little more right there. And look at her house, y'all. Wouldn't you like to live in a house like this? She's a good housekeeper, and she's a good little gardener too, isn't she? But she works so hard, she has to have a rest, so then she has her little garden where she can go sit in her swing and think about her hard day's work. These projects bring me so much joy, and I hope they do you too. For more summer decor inspiration, be sure you check out the playlist that I have on my YouTube channel. Also, be sure that if you enjoy budget-friendly DIYs such as these, be sure that you hit the like button and the notification bell, and be sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss anything that I put out on my channel. I hope you enjoy all of these DIYs that I brought for you today. I'll have a link to these videos and other videos for summer decor inspiration linked in the description box below. Thank you so much for being here today and spending your time with me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Check out the box right here for even more. Thanks for stopping by, y'all. Bye.